Again.
Yeah.
If I have.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody, let's get going. I'd like to call to order the Parks, Property and Streets Committee meeting for Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 2:32 PM. Janelle, could you do the roll call?
Olson,
Here.
Laskowitz,
Here.
and Aaron's.
Here.
It's my understanding that Lilia Roscoe is gonna be arriving a few minutes late.
And I've just got a text from Denise that she's working till 3, so she'll be here after that.
Okay,
So both are excused or arriving late. Okay, so let's take a look at the agenda for today's meeting. Do I have any edits or approvals? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve as proposed, the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is to approve the agenda from the August 5th, 2024 regular monthly minutes. Any conversation about that?
I have a comment on that. So, when we were out in the field, at the Ava Hope property.
Yeah.
I, thought we had said, well, let's just seed and grade the property for now. But then Denise, understood it to be different. So we just need some clarification on that, so the minutes are accurate.
Yeah, I think Denise thought we would not do any grading and we would put it back into, right, we wouldn't spend any money on.
Do
grading
anything.
Yes, correct, yeah.
And I thought others said seed and grade, so does anybody
Yeah,
recall?
I recall it as written in the minutes,
Okay.
that seed and grade, so that it's at least prepped for whatever future work. That's what I remember.
Okay.
Mike, any thoughts?
We talked about both. I sort of thought it was where Denise left it also, that it was, but I apologize, I don't remember. But that was my first recall, was that we weren't gonna do anything and we'd look at it in the future.
I thought we weren't gonna do anything either, but so now we're at kind of a stalemate because Denise. You remember when we were out at Ava Hope, and we were looking at that space to do.
Lily wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there, right?
Well, let's just change the minutes then to say, leave as is for future. Is everybody okay with that?
I think that would be accurate. It still, I mean, it covers both ways.
So what's it gonna say, Julie, I'm sorry,
How does it read right now, Janelle?
it says.
It's line 6, end of line 6 on page 9.
Thank you. Okay, by consensus, he agreed the terrain was not conducive for a walking path, and it was too close to the adjacent apartments and could negatively impact the tenant's policy. They also agreed not to build a community park in 2025, and rather to grade and seed the site in anticipation of a future park.
So just delete that last part that says, and to grade and seed it
Okay,
So it'll be an agenda item for.
next year.
And just for my recollection, and I'm not sure if it's in the minutes, I don't remember seeing it. But we are holding on to what, $13,000 or $14,000 that we've collected from the builder,
30.
30,000 to be
Right.
used for
That part.
development at some point in time in the future. But pretty clearly, the options we discussed were gonna be more expensive than the $30,000. Other than just grading and seeding, which we'd have to get a quote on. Am I recalling that correctly?
Well, depending what we do with it, we know we could get it for the 30,000. You know, if we're not doing that trail area, and if you're just grading, seeding, putting some plants around it to prep it, it would have been within the 30,000.
Okay, I think we should leave it for a future discussion because it was not very clear what the plan is. We didn't have any estimates from any contractors. There was some questions about whether the path should be included or not. There were just a lot of unknowns, so I think we have to change it and have a discussion about it.
Sure,
in the
just,
future.
we did get some estimates, Mike, earlier on that one, but we can look at them next year. We're gonna need updated estimates anyway.
Okay,
Because we also talked about moving the location for it and moving it up, so it's higher first of all and away from that building.
yeah, this is I don't think we were conclusive.
I would agree, sounds like this, yeah. That works. Okay,
So next year, you're gonna talk about it?
Yes,
Okay,
I would just say in the future.
in the future, okay.
Then the other thing I have to add, which is, item, where are we looking, item D, which is on page 6, line 35. So this is relative to the Mill Road East parking. And, since the meeting we had last, and relative to the minutes from this meeting, we had discussions about what we do to try to, encourage people to abide by the law and not park in those 3 spots that are adjacent to shop. First 3 east of 42. And at that time, we said, the maintenance department employees shall see that more yellow striping is added to the east portion of Mill Road, which was done. Thank you. It was also consensus that 3 no parking signs that are mounted in concrete bays should be placed directly in the portion of the street where parking will be prohibited. Since this, Chris Schmelz alerted me or pointed out that in the video of the meeting, we didn't say that. What we said was, let's try the striping, and then if we need to, let's put the signs in place, which I'm happy to share with the members. And so we should probably change this because that's what the video says. And then we should probably have a discussion, which we can do within this, but although this is on the agenda for the meeting, so I'm not quite sure procedurally how to handle this.
Well, I think, Janelle, you should go back and verify exactly what the minutes said,
Yeah,
okay? So I wouldn't change them just yet, so we
Okay.
don't, so what I would do is just not approve the minutes right now. But we can still go ahead and discuss it because
Mhm.
they're there and it's something that is causing concern, so I think we should discuss that anyway when we get.
When we get to the agenda item, okay, all right. Everyone in agreement on that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and everyone's free to take a look at those.
So we're postponing approval of the
Minutes on.
minutes
Minutes.
until next, okay.
Correct, and then if anybody wants to look at the video, it's on the village's website. Okay, any more comments, edits, anything on the August 5th meeting minutes? Okay, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to hold, do we need a motion to hold on approving?
Just postpone.
Okay, so I have a motion to postpone approval until the next meeting?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Okay, item 5, comments, course, and concerns from the public and those who have joined from, on Zoom. So anybody would like to make a public comment or correspondence of any kind? Miles Danhausen.
Yeah, thank you. I noticed in the meeting pack, there were a couple of letters concerning the ice rink and questions raised about the costs and the ongoing operating cost of that. Good questions. I do appreciate people paying attention and looking out for those. I know I presented a lot of this information previously to the parks and the village board, but just for those who have those questions, I created like a frequently asked questions document here, packet, just a couple of pages that I'm happy to hand out to the Parks Committee and anybody else who would like them. But just for clarity for those, I know there was a letter from John McMurray questioning the ongoing costs of the rink, and he referenced the DePere Ice Arena. The DePere Ice Arena is a much different animal than what we're proposing. That is an indoor arena, it runs by the hour and operates for a longer period of time and also a longer period every single day, because generally to get ice time, teams rent at like 4 AM and just are going all day. A lot of times, if you're an indoor arena in the months of October and April, you're also paying for air conditioning, with just like any hockey arena does, just to keep the temperature low. So it's not really comparable. We have instead compared and talked to the managers and builders of the Neenah outdoor arena, the Howard Commons outdoor arena, those were not arena, outdoor rinks. Those are better comparables. We also have gotten a kind of exact month by month electrical cost estimates based on the temperatures in our area from from various rink builders. So anyway, so it's clear. We are asking for roughly what works out to a 15% match from the village for the project. Village, if they call it around the 500,000, we go out and try and raise $2.5 million to bring to the village. So the It's just a fraction of the cost. And then the ongoing operating cost, that's been provided, I think the last time we provided that was in October. But it's approximately $84,000 in electrical and labor costs per year based on the operating model that we see this operating at. Approximately $54,000 that is electrical cost, and $30,000 is in rink specific labor costs. In a given year, the village generally budgets about $23,000 to $24,000 in labor for the rink, so it's a little bit more than is budgeted now. There's like a trade-off between what it costs to flood the rink now and all the extra hours that go into it. So you save some on that because it doesn't take nearly as much if you have the right rink, but you pay for it in electrical costs, and then presumably we're open a lot more and we're a lot busier, so we have higher labor costs slightly because of manning the concession stand, rentals and things like that. But those also trade off because they're there because there's business. So there's questions about who manages it and what the responsibilities will be. That is yet to be formally decided. Our group is definitely open to managing the rink for the village, taking that responsibility off the village's plate, coming up with some sort of agreement for that. Like a lot of public-private partnerships, actually it'd be like public nonprofit partnership. And ongoing, we plan to continue to host fundraisers, solicit sponsorships, generate revenue for the rink on an ongoing basis to help cover those costs. So that is a high-level summary of what we're aiming to do, and I have a handout here that, can I hand it out to everybody? It's not in the packet. Gives a little more detail on all those costs. And I have like the actual breakdown of those electrical cost estimates and everything as well. And the company that provided those has visited on site our facility, so it's very accurate to what we have. So I appreciate the questions. That's good citizenship, and but I'm always happy to answer those questions. And so my email is pretty easy to find. It's in the paper every week,
Everywhere.
but smiles@ppulse.com. Anyone ever has questions? I know a couple of board members have approached me and seem a little confused about the project still, so that might just be a result of turnover on the board. But just to, I mean, one thing that be very clear is it is not an arena, it's not an indoor facility that we're looking to build. It has always been an outdoor facility on the existing footprint, so.
Can I add, thank you, Miles, for all that. I know that Friends of the Ice Rink have been working diligently in getting this project done. I just want to clarify a couple of things. Adding on to what Miles said, this is not a Village of Sister Bay project. There's a committee that's working on it. The village is committing to a percentage to get it going. Number one. Number two, it says in here in this letter, comparing the population of Decatur to Sister Bay. This is not exclusively a project for the residents of Sister Bay, but it's for Northern Door County. So I know a lot of people have, a few people have commented that to me as well, but it's not just for the 1,000 people that live in Sister Bay. It's for the entire Northern Door community, locals, visitors, etc. So that's just my add on there.
Miles, I do have a question. So tomorrow we're going to be going through our budget and CIP. And you had said that you're only asking for the 500,000 right now, right?
That is what the parks and facilities had floated, and we were comfortable with that. That's enough to get to donors on board, so that's.
Okay, because we do have 1.75 million set aside in 2 years, I think. Or is it 3 years? So that you no longer need?
I mean, I don't know where, I'm sorry, I haven't followed enough of the SIP budgeting. Obviously, it'd make our job easier if we had more. But what we have been operating on is based on the village committing $500,000 to the project and helping with the ongoing costs and a level to be determined, I guess. I know that what the parks and facilities had recommended was I think it was phrased as like a minimum of 500,000 moving forward as like, hey, that's enough to get this ball rolling.
Right.
So,
And which is in the CIP.
Yeah.
Well, not yet, it has to approve, but it's in the draft CIP
Right.
But then we also had that 1.75 million for, I wanna say 27. So
There
it sounds
was-
like
Well,
that,
Wasn't that for like the building though, not the
That
high
might
school
be what-
itself?
That might be what that is, like, what we're aiming to do in the first phase is to get the rink and coils and the chilling system and everything done. And then there was also discussion about, do we make that a larger community center? And, but, I mean, that's obviously beyond the scope of a friends group to design that. I mean, we definitely would be a part of all that, but like, that's maybe where the larger number comes from.
yeah, the 1.75 million is coils, boards. Chiller, I'm trying to, trying to think of, there was a list in there, there's a list in there, but it did not include the facility that we've been talking about. But maybe that's something we need to revise, because that was put in before there was a discussion about raising or thinking you could get everything except the minimum.
So that was an approved CIP number, or was that one of those
That-
numbers that was proposed but not
No,
budgeted?
that's been approved for at least 2 years.
Yeah,
Oh, that might be from a
It's
couple
way
years ago,
back.
and to be honest, like when that. I think for, at one point, it was like 1.6 was in there or
Mhm,
something, but it
mhm.
wasn't really done through. It was just in there, which is great, I'm not pursuing it, but it wasn't like a further discussion with the committee at the time, so I didn't know exactly like. I think it was just.
what
kind
the
of
status
ballpark.
was, yeah.
Miles, has there been any discussion with the committee about after everything is all said and done, who's responsible for maintaining all the equipment out there? That could be like, especially if you guys take over the responsibility of the day-to-day operation, like staffing and doing all that kind of stuff with the group, if you work that out with the village, has there been any discussion along who takes care of this equipment once it's all out there? Because there's gonna be a substantial amount of equipment and probably maintenance that goes into all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, like the Nina Ice Rink, in their case, you know, they manage everything. I mean, that would be done, I think we'd have to come up with a memorandum of understanding between the village and the group, and that all depends on how the village, I don't wanna put the cart before the horse, and I'm saying, we as a friends group are open to that, we've discussed it, of like taking that off the village's plate and managing it in coordination with the village, but, that's a much, I shouldn't say I don't think it's a difficult discussion to have, but I don't wanna like muddy it and leave people with that impression right now.
Yeah, and
But if we did, yeah, we'd have to figure out a maintenance.
And like-
agreement.
Lily said, like, this is more than just a Sister Bay project. Now, are other communities gonna be chipping in towards the electrical costs then?
No, we'll be raising the money from a
On
lot of
that
different
yearly?
people in a lot of different communities, so it's, you know, we're talking $2.5 million. It's.
No, I'm talking like the monthly operational cost to this. That'll just be a strictly Sister Bay base.
Right.
Our community, or I'm sorry, our committee has talked about exploring a park and rec district to pay for it. So that is something, that is being looked at.
We've also talked about fees,
Louise was gonna,
Yeah.
that's how project Louise
Yeah.
agreed to take on.
and we also talked about fees and whether they're, you know, what do they look like as a Sister Bay resident versus non-Sister Bay resident and so forth.
Cause I know I was at the Friends Group meeting that took place last year at the sports complex, and who was the lady that came out and talked to us about that again? I can't remember her name. She was from one of the open rinks.
Yeah, she is from the Nina rink, that might be
The
the
Nina
meeting you're
rink.
talking about, yeah.
And I
Lizzie
remember,
Bergstrom.
and the reason I bring up the maintenance is because they actually had one of those chillers go down when they ran it too hot, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes to that, and, you know, do we want someone that's only part-time out there in charge of that responsibility?
Yeah, well, I know what Dan Klansky had talked about was just getting certified in the operation of those chillers, just, you know, having redundancy there, because it's gonna be a village property, I'm sure there's gonna be crossover. You know, we want to make sure we're operating that thing accurately. What happened in Nina is they were trying their best to keep it open every single day, and they ran it on a day when it started to hit like 50 some degrees.
55, I think they said. they were
And
at.
generally want to cap it at like mid-40s.
Yeah, they burned it out.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah, she gave us some great information. She was terrific.
She was nice.
can
She
I
was great.
just add something to this? This is something that's been on the radar for a long time. I think a lot of people would like it. A lot of young people would like it. A lot of people outside Sister Bay would like it. A lot of people inside Sister Bay would like it. And the model where a third party raises 75–80% of the money is great. I think there are a lot of issues here, though, that before we fund a penny of this, need to be documented. There's gotta be some sort of framework for how this thing would be maintained and operated, because
Of
you're
course.
asking great questions.
Right.
Chiller systems, I've worked in that industry, they are a nightmare. They are a maintenance nightmare.
There's a lot of maintenance that goes into chiller
It's
systems.
expensive. I don't think it's anywhere near what we saw, but you really need skilled people and high quality equipment. Otherwise, you're gonna have nothing but trouble, and that'll be the next thing. People will be complaining about the fact that things never frozen, right? Even on a cold day. So I think if we're really gonna consider this, before we talk about 500,000 or 1.6 million or $86,000 a year in maintenance, there's more work. There's gotta be like a business plan here that says, hey,
That's what they're doing.
that's what we gotta have. I mean, there's gotta be some specifics that then the parks can review and approve, send it to the board and let them review and approve it, but if we're talking, this is not gonna happen in the 25 budget year if we're in September and you're this loose on the details. I don't see how it could.
Well, that's what I won't put words in your mouth, but I think that's what the Friends are working on at the moment, because they're working with the Door County, Community Fund
Okay,
on getting funding. And you have to have a very solid business plan
Yep,
in
yeah.
place for them to back funding for you. Because they're the ones that are gonna help you go out and get the funding, so there'll be a business plan in place. And that's what you're working on now, right?
Yeah.
Brett?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, I can provide, most of that stuff is done, revenue streams and everything.
Right,
Like I said, we've met with the managers that operate all these rinks and talked to them in depth on what the maintenance is. It actually, it's similar to like, it's a bigger version of a restaurant chiller, is basically what it is. We've talked to not just the managers, but 3 different chiller builders. And with this one company that we talked to, they actually custom build the chillers for the site. Train also supplies these, they supply them to the NHL for small towns, for villages and everything, basically. And there's also rental chillers. They even do that where you rent it, like,
yeah.
when it gets hot, a hockey team brings in a bunch of chillers to cool down the arena.
But to Lily's point, that was the first I heard, what Lily said, that this would not be a village entity, that we would just contribute the $500,000 to a third-party entity. Is that what you were describing, Lily? And then that third-party entity would run this as a regional asset? Is that,
It's the
To start,
Friends up.
yeah, for the initial, start of the project, the village is committing. I mean, once it's approved, we have talked about $500,000 to get the project started. But, I think in the last year or so, there have been discussions about the village covering part of the operating costs, just a percentage though. But basically, the committee that is working on that project is funding most of it, and they will be working on getting sponsorships, right? And they do tournaments, like the pond hockey tournament, that brings people
Yeah.
up here and that brings some revenue in. So it's not a Village of Sister Bay project, but we will be contributing to the start of and the operating part of it. I mean, that's kind of like. the
To be
plan.
determined though,
To be determined.
because we haven't
We haven't
discussed numbers
approved anything yet.
And it-
All
and
that
to
was
clarify-
approved through the committee was a commitment or a recommendation to the board
For the SIP.
to put into the long-range plan, 500,000 set aside as an anchor point to allow, Miles and team and the Friends to go do that fundraising, because without a commit from the village, they're kind of twisting in the wind a little bit on trying to get big donors to step forward. You know,
So if the
especially with
village comes up with
ongoing
500,000,
discussions.
then it's a lot. It allows them through the foundation to raise another 1.8 million.
But, and that's great, I love that model. But who runs it then?
But
Does the
that has to
village?
be,
That's
that's,
not determined.
well, it will be determined, actually. There's no way that we aren't gonna move forward if there's no MOU, if there's no agreement on, because the village owns the property. They own the property, but in terms of managing the day-to-day, the operations piece, which is what you're asking about, and that includes utilities and so forth, yeah, that absolutely has to be worked out.
Is there, what about the liability? Is the village responsible for? is there-
Insurance?
Yeah,
Yeah, that has to be
Okay.
worked out. but
Hasn't been
it's-
worked out. I mean, from a Friends Group standpoint, it is easier to wrap those things, and what other Friends Groups have done is they wrap that liability coverage underneath the village's coverage.
It's just more cost efficient.
Yeah, that's pretty minor in the grand scheme of it. The operations, we are willing to, but like, that's. We haven't even started fundraising for it, so it's, in our case, it's getting this first step going. Working on our nonprofit status, we're becoming our own 501c3, and working with the community foundation to start raising funds has been the priority. And we've also run all the numbers on, you know, because I questioned it too, and when we first presented it to the village asked us, this grew out of an ad hoc committee commissioned by the village to examine the rink and figure out what the best step going forward, because they kept having problems. And our recommendation was that if you're gonna spend anything, the minimum you have to spend is rip out the entire slab and replace it with a flat slab. And if you did that, you'd have a better chance of making ice when it's cold, but it doesn't guarantee you operations. And now you're spending probably $500,000 to get a flat slab. We looked at tons of different options. We looked at an indoor arena, it didn't make sense. And that was our recommendation, that if you tear it out, if you're gonna do that, you might as well do it right and build something that you know is gonna be there every winter. And we said, if you do that, that doesn't make sense for the village to spend the full freight. So if you were going to do it, we would be willing to create a mechanism, a friends group, to go out and solicit funds. And the village said, yes, go for it. So that's how it grew to this point. So.
Okay, so the topic is, you know, what's the operating cost gonna be? We don't know. So it's on them to figure out what the operating cost is gonna be.
Well, the
And
operating costs we have,
I know, okay,
like
sorry.
who pays for it, I think the
But-
question is.
Well, exactly. And so it's on them to come back to, because they've been, I think, pretty transparent in what they want to do and how they want to do it. So it's on them to come back to us, to the park, starting with parks and then ultimately the board, on how they see the operations running, who does what.
Yeah, I definitely have concerns moving forward with the operation of those chillers, you know, if that's put on park staff. You know, that's quite a big responsibility and everything like that moving forward, so
Okay,
I'm
understood.
very curious, you know, moving forward, how that's all gonna be managed, if that's been brought up and everything like that. And that also, I do recollect that Nina had an operation of 2 chillers, our rink was gonna require 6. It was gonna require 2.
one for.
So is the whole rink going to be then frozen on 2?
Yeah.
Because isn't Nina's a lot smaller, or are we just gonna have that much bigger of a chiller?
Nina does not have a full-size ice rink. They have like it's modeled off of Rockefeller Center. So it's the exact same dimensions as Rockefeller Center. Ours would be the one like competition rink, the ice rink, remote rink, and then the recreational rink next to it.
Eric, one thing to think about, is if it's Train as an example, if we're a good customer of mine, a big part of their revenue is their maintenance contracts. So they'll give you a fixed 5-year agreement that tells you, and a village can pay it by the month. And they do everything, including response time when it goes down. So, I mean, if in the quote, when
Yeah,
we're
that's
looking to
definitely-
negotiate the install, we talk to them about that, and then we'd even, when we're asking them to do it, we might even ask them for like the first 36 of maintenance for free or something, you know, sign up. So there's, so there's ways to get around this. My bigger thing is, when do we commit the $500,000? When Friends has, $100,000, or when Friends has $1 million? I don't know.
Here's what it is.
Well, what we recommended is put into the budget, the commit to them to start their fundraising.
In the
But if-
capital
But
improvement plan.
if they raise $150,000, it's not like we go, here's your five
Okay,
hundred.
I didn't know how that.
They don't
I didn't
get
know how that worked.
To be clear, what we've offered is, you guys get the 500, we raise the rest. If we don't raise the rest, it costs the village $0. It's on us. It's a challenge grant, is essentially how it is.
It's nice.
Okay, so we good with, was it an
Thank
agenda
you.
item?
Thank-
And I
Into-
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, I know. Anything else, Miles?
No, but I'll hand these out just so you guys all have the reference points.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
There's more background information, but I
Thank
didn't
you.
want to give you guys a book.
Okay, great, thanks. Do we have any other comments from anybody else? Chris,
Luis would just like to say thank you for recognizing the air in the minutes and the Robbie Block field that are on, I'm sorry, Chris Schmelz, 2345 Middle Road. Concerning the parking signs are put up. I know I went back and reviewed the tape of it or the recording. Eric did say I did a great job to doing the striping really with two. Just that, I think that the blocks themselves certainly pose I think of a health risk or a safety risk, sort of riding a bike at night, coming down that way, you don't see them. Potentially, and I think they just don't look good. We have, I think, 5 signs there to block 3 or 4 spots, so. It'd be great if we could, going, I don't know if I'll have a chance to speak during the discussion.
you will.
Okay, so maybe I'll just wait for that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
It'll be a good one. Anybody else on anything else? No? Okay, I do have one comment, and that would be that I did notice that the comment on the ice arena came to you on Sunday, September 8th, I think, Janelle.
Mhm.
Okay, so if I could just ask that these kinds of letters like this, they should have been they should be submitted to the packet. This should have been on the following months,
Okay,
please. And I did notice that this came from Kurt Harf, who is one of our board members, and it's from his wife Lori Harf. And she's a plan commission member, is that correct?
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Did you want to read this letter out loud for those that are here? Okay,
No, unless somebody else wants it read.
okay.
Mm-mm. Okay, all right, on to,
As an administrative point, is there a cutoff for letters making the packet, and is that published somewhere?
There normally is.
yeah, there is.
It is, but because this was on the agenda for today, that's why
I just want to be consistent, because in the past, me personally, this is not recent, but when I've asked things to, to be put in the packet, or sometimes it didn't make it in time.
Well, I just note that like the letter from Mr. McMurray was sent the day of our last meeting, and there may have been the expectation that it went in the packet, because some of the other correspondence seemed to indicate
It
like
did not go in the packet,
Yeah,
it went in
because
the
it was-
following
it
month
was
packet.
too late. So if that deadline is clear, it might help.
So with public hearings, there's a very specific deadline, because with public hearing, you want to make sure the opposing side has time to, or anybody has time to come in and read it. We don't have that with meeting packets. It is a challenge, sometimes staff doesn't get to it, and that
Because the
probably
packet's been
happened.
prepared the week before, so it's the day of the meeting.
Yeah, I
There's
know
no
the
chance
one,
of it being in
I
the
know the one
packet.
from Harv had specifically asked to be shared with this meeting today, so that's why that one was sent out today. We often send emails out the day we get them, like, let's say you have a meeting that evening, if stuff comes in, we send them or we try to summarize them, so. But with a public hearing, definitely we have to cut off date.
I think for the meeting packet should be good, because then in the future, if, 3 months from now, I go back to this packet, it's gonna be missing that email that was
Yeah.
discussed because
Right.
it was too
Exactly,
late for
it
the
wasn't in the
packet.
packet.
Yeah, that could be
It's
something
confusing.
the chair creates, though, as a,
Mhm.
as a policy for this meeting.
I always thought there was a policy for all of the meetings, but if we need to create a policy, we can certainly discuss it at the next meeting. I just want it to be a level playing field for everybody, that's all. I think that's fair. Okay, on to, let's see, item 6A, administrative building design. I think we have Mike, right?
We have Mike, and should we all go closer again like we did last time so we can actually see the screen?
Sure.
Is it on the meeting so I can look at the computer again?
Yes, you'll be able to see it.
Oh, we need to zoom in, because you're right, you see it better that way, don't you? Okay,
Well, or we could just all stay here and connect to the Zoom.
well, we'll see it better, because
Well,
it's hard
not
to see
really.
it from there.
I can,
Mike, I've made you a co-host, so if you want to share your screen, you should be good.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we're good,
Okay,
thank you.
excellent. Okey doke. All right, so what the drawing I have pulled up is the most current revised floor plan with the railing. So we can get to that a little later. As far as the outside, but what we'll do here is we'll take a look at the village chambers end of the building. Made it about 2 foot wider to get some more circulation space around the chairs. We have the boardroom, mechanical, electrical, sprinkler, AV, and storage. So when this is needed for something else, all the chairs and tables can go in here. Did a bathroom count and a code check on this. The bathroom count, we were a toilet or two more than we needed, but I believe one of the members asked for a minimum of four toilets per gender. We have the sliding glass wall, which opens up the village chambers into the circulation space. I left the circulation space 25 foot wide, steel to steel. I feel it's a better design for elbow room and other programming that can go on in the space, but we can discuss that some more. And one of the committee members asked for an additional office for the future. So basically we have a 60-foot wing on each side of the main corridor here so that the building's balanced. Is there anything in particular that the committee would like to focus in on?
How many square feet is the building again?
1 second. So the building proper within the walls, not including the overhang, is 7789. I'll give you a further breakdown. The council wing by itself minus the bathrooms is 2490. Circulation space through the center is 1789. The admin wing by itself is roughly 3,000 square feet. And again, everything put together is 7789. Without the
What was the 1789? I'm sorry, I missed that.
1789 is the circulation space in the middle.
Also, is the atrium.
Yeah, circulation atrium, yeah. Center hallway.
So the meeting space is 2,490 feet.
Correct. That's the meeting space, the board breakout room, mechanical space, and storage space. So you could get down to, you could probably take the mechanical space and take it out of that calculation if you wanted to. It's a a space for furnaces, air conditioning, IT, all that stuff that you're going to need it regardless, but it can be reconfigured
Okay.
differently. Should you want to axe that into the building or whatever comes about.
I just want to interject here too. So if everybody remembers, we had like two little additions behind or on top of the drawings. And when Mike and I talked, we talked about actually finding a way to get that mechanical equipment inside to reduce the cost of the project. So that made some of these rooms a little bit bigger too, because took the additions off the back and you incorporated that use inside the building.
And how many square feet do we have today in the existing building?
I'd have to go back and look at the facilities.
1,000, 1,200, 2,000?
Well,
Well, but there isn't really an existing building that encompasses all of these usages unless you
yeah, I mean, you
did
have to
this
look at
room
the edge of
plus the
building.
admin.
I think what he's trying to do is compare the office space here with the office space we currently have.
So we
X,
currently have
X the
3,000.
meeting space.
This has 3,000 for office and 4,000 for other stuff.
2,500 for meeting. Mhm.
Well, you have to look at though, right now you have the admin building, which you've got people sitting around little desks and stuff. You have all of your archive storage at the Parks building, so you have to add that in. You have your election storage spread throughout, so you have to add that in to be fair. You don't have a meeting chamber, so you have to add that in to be fair. as
Mhm.
well.
No, you're right.
Look at apples for apples.
So, what, I'm sorry, one other question I should have been looking and it wasn't, the meeting, sorry, the office you added, Mike, where is that? Top left, top right, bottom right?
Right in the center.
One that says future, 115. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the number of offices we have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offices, right?
No, 2 of those are, one of them mechanical, one of them storage that you counted, I think.
No,
No,
it's,
sorry.
so there's 3 cubicles, so to speak, and
Yep.
4 offices.
Oh, offices meaning, office is a room with a door, right?
Yep.
The door there'd be 4.
Okay, there's 4 of those and 3 of the others. I gotcha. Okay. All right, so what I would, and so this is a little bit more space, but I don't think there's any added expense because, from what I understand, you didn't, now that the restrooms are incorporated into it, it's all in one footprint. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Basically trading off the little shed roofs out here. It's like, think of your house, and if you put an addition on to add a rec room or something else like that, every time you add on, there's a different, it's a different type of cost. So putting this all within one footprint, I think we made the building 2 foot wider.
Okay. So right now, in the looks of it, it's roughly about $375, $375 a square foot. Parks is coming in roughly in that neighborhood, about $370 a square foot, but 80% of the parks building is for vehicles. So my question to the committee would be, I mean, right now, 8,000 square feet is big for a building like this. And there's nothing even coming close to this large of a building for an administration office in the county of Door. And I personally have a hard time going to my constituents and my neighbors and saying, we just approved this plan and it's 8,000 square feet. So what I'm gonna suggest is maybe unpopular, but I'm gonna suggest that we look at keeping this room for meetings and not putting a meeting room in the administration building. This room will hold, if you don't have the tables that you see there, which take up a lot of space. This room, I think we planned this for 75 people. This room will hold more than that without those tables. And it will allow us to build a smaller building that will accommodate our administration staff.
There's a couple things we have to think about with that. One, there's a lot of double bookings here, times we can't meet in here, so we have to
Mhm.
think about that, because there is definitely a demand for meeting space.
Okay,
The other thing we have to think about is the elections. I was talking with Heidi, and beginning in 2025, the fire station will no longer have, I want to say analog phones, is that the right one for her to use to send in her data for elections? So we're gonna have to figure something out with the elections, because the fire station cannot be used for, according to Heidi.
it won't have what, I'm sorry, it won't have,
She was trying to explain, you have to relay it through a certain means to the county, and in.
So it's
2025,
secure,
that
okay.
Changes at the fire station, where you're not gonna be able to relay it to the fire station. So we also know this is not code for elections, right? She has to have lots of storage space. So you have to think about that stuff, so you have to probably make some revisions to the building then, I think, and find another meeting space, since we are running into challenges having double booking on meetings.
And that's why we have Zoom and somewhere at Village Hall, and you have people wanting to be in the building at the same time, so we have to think about that as well.
Well, and what about, the future when, the fire station, most likely will move? Do we build then another meeting in the new fire station, wherever that may?
Well, what would happen to this building? We're gonna tear it down?
You don't know, it could be sold, it could be turned in, who knows?
I'm trying to figure out a way to make this not an 8,000 square foot building. It's huge.
I think we have to look at, but don't we have to plan for the future?
I think we
mean,
are
for us
planning
to
for the
not
future.
put a meeting room in a brand new administration building is something similar of us not putting in two additional bays for future use in the parks maintenance building. I mean, this building most likely will stand for 100 years, give or take. And to not have a meeting room is,
Then it should be half the size or 1/10 of the size. I mean, I discussed this with everybody last time. It went from 188, it could hold 188 people down to 75. I thought it should be closer to 50. And then we also, I realized we have to have storage for the chairs that are there.
you can't build just for today and still be scattered.
No, nobody agrees with building for the future. I would say nobody does, but I would agree with anyone that wants to build for the future, 100%. Absolutely, totally agree. Totally agree. I just, you know what the budget discussion was like last year. I guarantee you that none of our residents know we're building an 8,000 square foot administration office. They know we're spending 3 million, or they may have forgotten, but they're gonna remember when we go through the budget meetings in about a month. And I just can't, in my brain, I can't,
And so
Justify.
then we have to give them the facts.
I know.
But there's other alternatives. I mean, I get the administration space and how tight it is for our staff, but what was this room supposed to be when this building was built?
Not for the village board meetings. It was for fire department.
Well, then it would be used like 10% of the time. That's not terribly efficient.
I mean, we have this room, it works well. We have a village hall that's empty most of the time. You could build this building with future expansion, to your point about the future. You leave it empty, you put a green space there and you make it easy to expand the building in the future if you really need it. You cut the cost by a third, maybe a half.
And
But
it just cost us more in the future.
But Denise, when I talk to my friends and neighbors at Marina Fest and over the holiday weekend, and I say we're talking about building an 8,000 square foot village hall that's gonna cost $3 million, they think I'm kidding.
Well, that's why we have to inform them
I-
and we're.
yeah, that's true.
as Members of any committee that we're on and those of us that were elected who knows all of the information, has been part of this since the beginning, then has to bring everybody else along to tell them why we support something or don't support something. I mean, just because somebody doesn't, they question it now, if they don't have all the information, well, is their opinion may be valid, but based on what? If they don't have all the information on why we're doing what we're planning.
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I believe it's critically important to be able to articulate the benefit to the village and to the residents of the village whenever the village is making an investment. I don't think we've done that here yet.
I don't know, Mike, we hired a facility planner to walk us through this. We had several public hearings on these plans. You know, this actually a little smaller than what was originally discussed, I believe. So there's public hearings, there's actually a resolution approving it, saying we're all gonna move forward. Based on that, money was set aside in the CIP, that went through public hearing processes. We've had public bidding processes to get us, or not bidding, but RFP processes
I mean, there's been a lot, it's just that it's stretched out because these projects take a long time. We've had 2 years basically to get us to the point we are today, and that was through public hearing and adopted plans and budgets to get us here. You know, I will say this, we've talked about this with the Parks building. Why was the Parks building so much? Because every year you delayed it, you delayed it, you delayed it, and pretty soon you can't afford it. So it's one of these things where they've talked about this, they put 3 million aside for it. They realize we've got to make it work for the 3 million, that's all we're doing. And that's it. That's been approved through the public hearing process, so try and make it work for 3 million, and if not, then we have to cut back, but this is what the public sat at those meetings and had asked for and approved. It's actually smaller, like I said, than what they had approved, but this was a full public process, whether some of the people here showed up or not, it was a public process.
Well,
I think it touched, I think it just touched too few of people. I mean, this will be the largest village hall for a village of our size in the state.
That's not true.
No, it is true.
We operate as a small city, and we have for a very, very long time. Way back when we had a village administrator, Bob Cuffrin here, who was before Julie, before Bo, before Zeke. He came from Oak Creek, around the Milwaukee area, and he said that, and it's held true ever since. The other thing is that when we did the CIP and we worked with Baird, we can afford this building and this $3 million without adding anything to the capital project debt service. And the taxes don't get raised because of it.
I just am saying from a practicality standpoint, first of all, I don't believe that our village residents asked for it. I don't think that that's accurate. Secondly, they may have attended meetings and things like that, but I think that in your heart of hearts, anybody that's sitting at this table or anywhere else would agree that our residents did not ask for an 8,000 square foot administration building. Number one. Number two, I just from a practical standpoint and from there has to be a better way to do this. It's much larger than anything in Door County. It's larger than the Crest. So, you know, and in looking at, we have to be able to lop off something in this building to make it a little bit more palatable, at least for me. And if I'm the only one that feels like something as elaborate as this is appropriate, I'm always thinking for the future. That's all I think about. I don't think about what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I think about what's gonna happen in 5 or 10 years. And I know we have to build for the future. I'm well aware of that. And we could have, 1,300 people that live here, and it's still too big. So,
I think to be fair to what we're trying to do here, though, fixating on the exact square footage or calling it just an administration building when it's kind of this multi-purpose thing that's a clear need for the village, kind of takes away from that and, affects the messaging that Mike was talking about. It's important to go back to what were the needs that were defined in the administration building for a large meeting space, for administration, for files, for interface with the public. And as Julie said, does this meet those needs or not? It certainly fits within the criteria of what was budgeted to meet those needs.
I know it, I hear you. I think it more than meets the needs. It's excessive. When it comes to the meeting space. Maybe not the admin building, which is coming out to be about 3,000 square, the admin piece of it. And then the atrium is now, Mike, the atrium is what? 25 feet wide or 20 feet?
25 foot steel to steel,
And how high are those ceilings?
20 foot.
Now,
In defense of that though, the design directive was to look like a farmhouse. Your
No,
typical farmhouse has the 2-story look to it. So the volume of that space is based on that.
Mhm.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, well, I've been here for many, many years and have fought the traffic for many, many years, lugging stuff over here. You also have to rearrange the furniture every time that there's a meeting here. I've worked both in Egg Harbor and in Door County where the meeting rooms were on site, and it's so much more convenient and so much more efficient to have an on-site meeting.
Agree that it's more efficient. I do. It just doesn't need to be this big.
So we have one meeting left with Mike per our contract, so. Let's decide what we wanna cut off then, because at that meeting, he also has to give us the cost. So, and then from that point, it goes to RFP, so, he reduced the size of the meeting rooms per our request. Added an office per our request. Now it sounds like we wanna make things even smaller, so let's tell him
Well,
exactly
that's
what
me. I don't know if everybody else
Yeah.
agrees.
Cause if we wanna make it smaller, we've gotta do it. This was a very economical deal we had on this, but we were held to 3 meetings with the committee to come up with the final design.
Julie, to be realistic though, if we, in the event that we take some square footage out of here, I will, we need to have a second meeting because I would like sign off from the group. So even if it's at my own cost, I don't care. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I want to make sure that the board is, or the group is behind it, I guess is maybe the best. Whatever changes we make today, I want to make sure that everyone's satisfied with it before we go forward and into the pricing and into the rendering and all that other stuff.
Mike, it's Denise. Did you make the cubicles a little bit larger?
Yes, I did.
And what were they before and what did you make them now?
I believe they were like 10 foot and now they're 12, but it's a very like a 9x12 cubicle.
Thank you.
And it's hard, it's not a cubicle like you would see like a systems furniture. It's a hard walled cubicle.
Excellent.
Yeah, when he had to make the other side bigger to keep it even, that meant the right side had to get a hair bigger too.
So hard walled means that mean the walls go all the way up to the ceiling, right?
No, they go up 42 inches, 36 to 42 inches, and we can put glass on top of them. So it's still open, but you don't share conversation from cubicle to cubicle like if a phone call comes in. Hard wall means there's gypboard. It's not a systems furniture cubicle.
But for future, are they mobile? Can they be moved if we need to change the configuration in the future? I mean, as an example, we've got a lot of storage space for paper and I know there's debate about it, but I gotta believe that in the next 10 years, that's gonna get digitized and we won't need all that space.
If you want to move them, you just basically take down the 42-inch tall wall and whatever we put on top of the wall for privacy, and you're probably replacing carpet tile.
So they're 2x4 walls. They're not
Correct.
mobile.
Correct.
Is it cheaper to put the mobile structures in or more expensive?
It is not. A cubicle is running about $10,000 to $15,000 for systems furniture. We can build the wall cheaper and put a countertop in it.
And what's the flooring? But we don't know, or we don't know that yet.
You can assume probably 2 foot by 2 foot carpet tile. Which is glue, it's individual tiles glued down that you could, whatever you tear, rip or stain, you can pull that one tile up and replace it because there's always remnants left over.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm not sure if it just. We want to have a further discussion. I do have a question too about then going forward, what the schedule looks like. But a discussion about the size and how you guys like made my
So I think
feelings apparent.
first blush, Mike did what we asked him to do. We talked about
Yeah.
size last time, and I think the, middle average of all of our answers with that 75-person meeting space.
Mhm.
I think it makes a lot of sense to have dedicated village meeting space. I know how cumbersome it's been here when you get kicked out by one group or another, or have to go meet over in the kitchen, or end up in the village hall trying to rearrange things, move things, etc. I came on board, you know, after the decisions had been made about what was important to have in the building, but it was strongly emphasized that we needed a dedicated village meeting space. And so I think Mike's done that here, and I think it's a compromise size that will work for what we need it to. And I think the office spaces, you know, update a badly aged building that we're trying to make do with now and gets us to where we can have proper offices, proper meeting space, proper interface with the village space.
Yeah, I agree, we need to, I couldn't agree more. Will other people, what's the village's point of view on other people? Historic Society, Ice Rink, Friends of the Ice Rink, Sister Bay Advancement Association, any village entity using that meeting space?
We would probably have to come up with policies on it, like, do they try, is it like back up to the fire station? Or
Well,
how
they
does
meet
that
here
go?
now, and we're building this elaborate building, a meeting room, so is there any reason why they wouldn't be able to do that?
I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just
We
saying.
just have never discussed it.
We probably have to have a discussion policy just like we do here. Like here it's, first come, first served,
Right, sure.
so, and I know the quilters have outgrown this space, so they may look at that space.
So this would be a community meeting space for everyone. Right,
This right here,
this,
this,
for everyone.
I think we'd have to talk about that.
Well, if it isn't,
I don't see.
it's for sure too big.
I mean, I would.
I don't see why not either.
I mean,
As long
neither do
as
I,
the
but it just
village
hasn't been
always
discussed,
takes-
and I just don't wanna come back and say, oh, it's gonna be $100 for you to meet here.
Well, we haven't talked about that. What we did talk about was, you know, having the doors open. People could come in and see displays and then go into the meeting room for lectures or whatever, so. I think the thought has always been it's open, but we've just never had that conversation or set policies on.
Can I offer up a suggestion to the group real quick here? A lot of times, especially like when you're designing the buildings, sometimes you have to go back to the start and back to the mission statement, I guess. If it's okay with you guys, I've pulled out the 2023 building program outline. That was part of the initial report. If I could read it to you guys real quick, just to kind of come back to the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
Staff break room, lunchroom. Got that. Public staff restroom, depending upon how many toilets we actually end up, we've got that. Front counters, administrative clerks, security. I think we've covered that. Small conference room. Large conference room, that's open to interpretation. 2 executive sized offices, finance and village administrator. Cube area for 3 staff members, I think we've got that. Growth space for 2 additional offices. 1 transient office, I guess it's debatable between these 2 here. Secure document storage. Track files with drawers and remote suggested. And then secure private voter registration area. Okay. So unless I'm a misunderstanding, there's nothing about the village chambers being here. I think what we're missing is a large conference room, and that's open to interpretation. Some of these areas like mechanical, you can't get away from. Storage, you can't get away from. But that's kind of going back to where everything started here.
Was there a boardroom in that initial?
No, it has a small and a large conference room. Again, point of discussion is what is a large conference room and what was going to be in it.
Well, there was another part though, Mike, in that plan that talked about the meeting room. Or I'm sorry, the chambers. Because at first the thought was, should that be a separate building or should it be connected? And then as time went on, it was, our understanding is more cost effective to have one larger building that has everything together.
But Mike, what I just heard you say is basically the right 1/3 of the building was kind of in that original document and the left 2/3 was not.
No, what he
Sure.
did say,
To a point, but I think Julie, I'm flipping through this real quick to find that, because I think there might be, to her point, is there another part to this with the chambers, as she's saying? I'm flipping through it right now.
Yeah,
Well, at one point, didn't we almost have two buildings? One was large meeting space and one was administration, and then we merged them into one for efficiency.
right,
Correct.
yep. Yeah, because they even talked about maybe having the large meeting area down by the library, that where we thought the post office would go. We talked about having it there. We looked at some different scenarios. What I did hear Mike just say is this plan does not have some of the stuff that we started out with. For example, I remember there was a private, I'll say, conference room and a large conference room on the right half of the building. We took that away and only went with one to save money. We also had a transient office and we took that away to save money. So what's drawn here is actually, when you're looking at the right half, is actually 2 spaces less than what we originally talked about with the facilities plan.
Well, we have 2 offices right now that would be occupied. One is a transient office, that's future.
Right, but
And
if,
then-
like
so-
he read though, it was supposed to be 2 for future growth plus a transient office. And we said, when Mike was working on this, we said, well, they can use an office that's not occupied or use the conference room if they need a transient place to work. Because you don't have the transient people there that often
Right.
to justify the
To
space.
build a whole office for them. Okay.
Julie, to your point in the shared understanding about page 5, a larger community meeting space is needed. I don't know if that's the only place, it's only, as I'm flipping through, that's the only place I'm seeing it.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion because it started out much bigger.
So this is a village chamber, but it's really a community meeting space, is that how it
In that document, that's how it reads.
morphed?
Yeah.
Yes, Miles.
What do you? Most of the meetings are like this, right? 5 of us,
Empty, yeah.
right? So to create that larger meeting space. There's a couple meetings a year where a bunch of people show up usually because they're kicked off by something.
Mhm.
Otherwise. With that larger meeting space area and the atrium. Then I would guess that you're looking at that for the purposes of having events.
Well,
Some
actually,
sort?
with the atrium, that we went down, I wanted it to go down to 50, it went down to 75. And then with the idea that we could probably fit another 60 chairs in the atrium, so it really would seat.
But my question is that then deemed as like a potential? You wouldn't build all that space just for meetings, because.
I don't think so either.
So I looking at this as citizen, I go, okay, that's a meeting space, where you can have gatherings and people can rent it out, or big community thing.
Right.
Is there a kitchen?
No,
So what it would be for immediately becomes, as somebody who does events for a living, and we had this at Rain Outdoor County when we built our building. You're not gonna host anything without a kitchen.
Yeah.
So if your purpose is to then have some sort of community event there of any scale, but not have a kitchen, you're not gonna have it, from my.
well, Sebastopol has the same thing, they have a kitchen. Their meeting room holds 120, but they have a kitchen.
Egg Harbor and the Liberty Grove also.
Same thing, yeah.
And I'm questioning, like, if you have that big space, if you're using it to do this thing, but if it's for a large meeting, you don't have that many large meetings, would be my only question.
I think we talked about that the new Warming House Community Center, that is the place that would be.
For events.
And
the
it
village
would
hall.
have a kitchen there for those types
Sure.
of events.
So why do it there?
That's why there's not a kitchen.
No, but why create all that space in 2 spots? If one of them is just space.
Well, it got way smaller.
Yeah, but it's still, 1,800 square feet is,
We talked about this at the last,
It's 2,500 square feet.
no, the atrium itself is
Oh, the atrium, sorry.
1,800 square feet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just like, that's what I would think about. If, cause like, if you look at the Crest. Their biggest. And cause I've asked them a lot about this in when we've been exploring the ice rink. one of the things we've done is talk to everybody, like, what would you do different? What did you screw up? You know, and in Neenah, it was the bathrooms aren't big enough and the locker rooms aren't big enough, right? We take that into account. And, with the Crest, it's that they didn't put in the full kitchen.
Yeah. It's a
They
big-
have a kitchen, they have a sink. They didn't put in the full
Yeah,
kitchen,
it's really-
so they have an event space without that, so only thing they can do is full catering stuff. They have a beautiful space, 6,000 square feet. Probably the best, like, public event space in the county, but they would still say that.
Do they talk about initial construction costs? Because putting in a full kitchen sometimes revolves around a commercial kitchen hood. An extra cost. So that's like one of the first things, like what we see on the design side is we got a kitchen. Okay, what are you gonna be cooking in that kitchen? It's kind of like the Parks building. We had to write a letter to basically say they're not gonna deep fry anything in the Parks building, you know, or else you get stuck with a commercial kitchen hood. So there's probably some upfront decisions that were made that are now regretted, to your point.
We also had one, engineer though on our village hall remodel say full kitchens are out, everyone's going with catering kitchens. So it's kind of, you know, I think prouder who you're talking to. In this case though, yeah, I don't think, you know, I think like lectures happening there or meetings or sessions where somebody's coming in to talk to us about retirement benefits or broadband or something. Not the full day ones where you're having food and a dinner and a meal like that. That they would go elsewhere for. But we have had, Miles, we've had this room packed on several occasions. I'm not saying all the time, but short-term rentals, we packed it on housing meetings. I mean,
It can hold a lot more people when you remove the tables.
I would
yeah, we
guess,
get a lot of people.
We don't need tables. This room won't have tables.
No,
We're not gonna have tables here. If we remove these tables, it would hold 3 times, 4 times as many people as chairs we have here.
I'm just saying
Depending
we've
upon
had
what
more than
function is going on there, you may have tables.
I'm just saying we've had
For
meetings
the,
with
for
more
the,
than
we don't
75
have room for
people.
tables in here. For the people that are seated. You're gonna put table, I thought we decided no tables for the people that are seated there.
no, she's saying like you could. You have.
Depending upon what the
Like the
function
Crest, it
is.
can either be wide open or.
But I mean, for one of our village meetings or our committee meetings. Those, I've never seen those removed.
I think we have an opportunity to justify a new village administration building. I think when you look at the old building and its inefficiencies, we can explain to our residents that we need a step forward here, whether it's next year, the following year, or the third, you know, how, I think we can make that case. I think unless we have a better case to be made, it's gonna be hard to convince our residents that they should be paying for a building that's bigger than what we're seeing on the right-hand side of the building. Because we do have lots of meeting space options. People are still remembering the village hall discussion where we almost tore the building down and now it's underutilized. We have this room.
Well, it's underutilized because it doesn't have AV equipment. It's not ADA accessible. There's not enough appropriate restrooms there and no parking.
I agree with Jerry.
Lily.
Well, if you want to hear what I have to say.
Sure. Of course we do.
I mean, I agree, we need a new admin building, and we've been talking about it, I've been on this committee, this is my second year, and I was part of the initial discussion. I don't know, I just think we're taking too much time discussing something that is a first world problem. Really. That's it.
I mean, there's other bigger problems, and what are we wasting our time talking about this for? For me personally, it's because we could spend less money building this and we could spend it doing something else.
Yeah, that's where
I mean, if we cut costs, that's great,
Right.
but
Well, we would cut costs if it's 375 a square foot per square foot, and we cut 1,000 square feet off of it, we would save that amount of money. And we haven't borrowed for it yet. So that's why.
So, if we, so this building is $3 million.
Mhm.
We balance the budget with it. We know taxes are not going up.
Mhm.
If we lowered the size of this project, it's not like those funds would go to a different project, would they?
No, because we could put it, no.
I just want to make sure we're not cutting this to make sure a different project goes forward.
Now, did we
Well,
say
where do they
that this
go?
will or will not affect the taxpayer?
At this,
It
at-
will not, because remember when the guy from Bayer talked to us about our debt service levy, and it kind of stays consistent even though we're doing some of these other projects.
and
Denise,
our
I
taxes.
talked to that guy at Baird. And that's a model that he put together that assumes no recession, no blips, no dips in valuation. It assumes a perfect future. When you look at debt service as a percent of our budget, we're up into the high 40s, and that's gonna keep going up. And
Not
every
according to him, we have it in
is
black and
his,
white.
I saw it, I read it, I reviewed it. What he's saying, and he's right, and the village is in excellent credit shape, excellent credit shape. We can borrow a lot more money,
Right,
but we still have to pay the debt service on those dollars. And his model assumes that every TID comes in with a home run. It assumes that we don't have any dips in valuation. It assumes that we're gonna have some steady rate of tax increases and revenue. So there's a lot of assumptions under the covers there that are, it's good risk to take, and we're in great shape. But there still is some risk there. And to Lily's point, if we don't spend the money here, you do have the option of applying those dollars someplace else, maybe to the ice rink. Maybe to other improvements in the village.
we've already budgeted for the ice rink, what we're going to give them.
Well, we had another discussion on that, I think, before you came here.
Well, the 500's still there in the,
Yeah.
in the SIP, but, so my question too is that we're using general obligation long-term financing for this, correct? It was approved for the 2024 SIP, 24, 25, 29 SIP for 25 construction at 3 mil using general obligation long-term financing, correct?
Right, we have not applied for any grants or anything. else.
Right, okay, so you're gonna apply for a community development block grant, okay, and that.
No, I don't know if I am.
But that would be great.
Well, it says community development block run funds will be applied for in May. You're gonna do that, or
I have not done that yet, but that's what I would like to do.
you'd like to do, okay, and then for certain facets of the project.
Because only certain things are eligible for CDBG.
Right, because when I looked up CDBG, the only thing that looks like we'd be eligible for is if this is a community center. And it's really not, but is that what we're gonna submit it for?
It depends what gets approved. You know, we also
What do you-
had
I
talked
don't know
about
what
it
that means.
being, I think, a storm shelter at one time. So. And there's other grants out there, I mean, that. For example, on the village hall, who would have known that we could apply for one this year, but. Oddball came up and we applied for it. We don't know, I shouldn't say oddball, but we don't know if we'll get it, but
Right,
we always, so what happens is we budget within our means.
yep,
And
and
then
try to
we
get a grant,
And then we try to get a grant
sure.
to make life better, but if we
Yeah.
don't, at least we have it
You got
budgeted
it
and
budgeted,
covered.
okay. So if, whether or not you may apply for a CDBG in May, then we would know whether or not we get it in August. We don't know the amount or if we're gonna get it, or if we're gonna apply.
And I'll put this caveat in there, you know, we don't know what other projects are out there, you know. I just saw this ice rink thing that says they're looking for construction in 25, 26. That's probably a better project with CDBG dollars, so, you know, you can't. Apply for 10 things in your community, right? You have to pick and choose, there may be, so
Mhm.
we look at what's out there, what is. More applicable or better chances of getting the grant for,
Okay,
so,
I just wanted to understand that part of it.
yeah.
Because the other thing I wanted to talk about was moving this, because what I didn't understand about in your staff report was it said the design gets completed in early 2026. Bid in early spring with construction in late summer, fall of 2025. So there's a typo on either, in one of those statements, right?
Probably, yeah. if
Yeah, I
had-
think
if
it's the
said
typo,
26.
because I had it circled.
So,
Oh, it's
the wrong
25.
year.
so the design complete in early 2025.
Five. Yep.
Construction in late summer 2025, right?
Yep.
And then we're using general obligation, long-term financing, and then going to apply for a CDBG. Got it, okay? Because what I was going to suggest was that this move, everything moves up a year, because if it's 6 to 8 months to build this guy, we would have to be ready to go. Well, first of all, a shovel hasn't hit the ground for the Parks building.
Right,
And we need to manage that. And we're not sure what we're doing. Once the Parks building is finished, we don't know what's gonna happen to the old Parks building. There's a lot for you to do and for the staff to do. I'm wondering if we just couldn't move it out.
And have it cost how much more?
I don't know, we haven't borrowed yet.
well,
I'm talking about
For construction, I got you,
not
I
borrowed
understand that.
costs.
It's fair, that's fair. I got it.
I will say this, so the projects that we've been working with, for example, Parks Building. Mike's crew takes the lead on that to make sure that the contractor is doing what he's supposed to be doing. We paid for that as, it's one of their services, it's wrapped into the cost of it. So it does take that burden off of staff, where we're not there every day checking it, are they doing this correctly or not, so.
Okay.
And that project is done in May, or it's supposed to be done in May. So it's not like we're having multiple projects going on at the same time.
That's gonna be done.
You don't think it'll be done in May?
If it's 6 to 8 months,
Well, we have
We're
a
here in
contract saying it's gonna
September.
be done in May,
okay,
so.
all right, well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, they have to follow that.
So we had a lot of good discussion, I think some within the purview of the committee, some outside what we can control.
Okay.
What do we need to do to move forward, or what do we need to talk about within this agenda item?
Well,
So-
Mike needs consensus from us on what we wanna do. We're looking at the design.
Yeah, so
That's the
my-
number one item.
right, because
and
then he
then-
has come up with a cost for us for next meeting.
Probably be 2 meetings out. Whenever we come from this meeting, I want the committee to look at it one more time before we put it into OPC.
Mike, can you show them some of the options or elevation views that you were
Sure.
working on, trying to make
Sure.
it look like a older home?
Sure. So this is the option with the railing. Porch railing. Steeper roof pitches, wrap around porch, or at least on the front end of it. With a railing. We put in what we call punched windows rather than long spans of windows.
Are the railings individual railings, or it looks like they're individual, right? in front of
Yeah.
every window? Sorry, I see it now, thank you.
Yep.
Is that one long porch?
Yep. So that's what this is showing here.
How wide is that, Mike?
What's that?
How wide is the porch?
8 feet.
And that's an overhang, right? There's an overhang, because that doesn't look like it's gonna be super fun to keep clean. Okay,
Hey,
So
Mike,
this would
show
be,
them
go ahead.
I was gonna say, just show them the other option, the stone one.
So same floor plan.
Uh-huh.
This has the same porch, but it has, I put a stone wing, kind of like your village hall has the stone on it. The
So-
older one by the park there. It's like a stone wainscoting on it.
is there a difference in the price between the stone and the railings?
Stone it's probably pretty close to a wash because what you're subtracting, you're spending on putting on stone on back on the building. Depending upon if you want them on 4 sides, the stone's probably more expensive. Because I have the railings on, the porch is on one side of the building with the spindles and the railing and stuff like that. The stone would go all the way around. Again, it's an aesthetic option. But we did put Julia suggested kind of paying homage to the church apparently that was there. So we put kind of a circular window with maybe some stained glass in it or something like that, but something to break up the mass up here, because two punched windows up here to make it look like a two-story farmhouse just didn't feel right.
Perspective.
So this would be, and I also have the site plan, so let me, again, we threw together some site stuff here, so we made the assumption that the building will be orientated north-south, so as you come into however the driveway shakes out, this would be your front entrance, which would be what this is here. So the west is the front entrance. The back entrance, again, there was a thought about, a community garden, or if anything is developed out here, you'd be able to see through to it. Again, if there's community functions here of any kind, any type, you can pass right through the building.
I know that we have not talked, and I asked Stan Tech to come up with drawings to do the same thing on this parcel and how we want to develop it, what do we want to keep there in its original spot, what might we want to move, the cabins or whatever. Personally, I never envisioned the administration building there. I envisioned it farther down Woodcrest or in the open field area here that you would access off of ZZ, one or the other, but not clustering it there.
What would
Just
you do with the
my
other
opinion, and we haven't talked about it yet.
what would you do with the other buildings that are there, Denise?
What do you mean? Which buildings?
The two houses and all the other farm buildings that are there?
I thought we were keeping them there.
Well, we were keeping the barn, we talked about keeping the migrant quarters. As far as I know, we haven't toured either of the houses as a committee yet. I know that Eric will take us in one of your staff reports
Yep.
individually, but I think we need to go and look. And
Yeah,
I just think that you kind of ruin what's currently there by getting rid of the house. And like I said, we haven't talked about it, we haven't come up with a plan.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that is not where I envisioned it at all.
I agree. I mean, I really thought it was gonna kind of be where it was, and I would say that corner, I drive up and back and forth on that corner a lot of times I take it home from the dog park and stuff. It's getting busier and busier, so having that entrance pretty close to on Woodcrest, pretty close to ZZ. I'm not sure if that's a good place to have the driveway. I don't know how frequented that driveway will be in and out, but I sort of thought we were gonna keep all those buildings there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know when Mike and I talked, I had relayed to him that we had talked about taking down the garage by the road. And I think it was the chicken coop and the ice house or something. We have not talked about the other buildings, you're right, but for planning purposes, I did tell Mike, I said, I think that's where it should go myself, because you have the mature trees, it's gonna look like a fully developed old farmhouse, you got these big canopies, it's next to the barn. But you guys, we can place that wherever we want, and Denise, you're right, I did it, if you recall, you guys did ask for Stantec to do it. But I had also said, let's hold off because Mike was gonna be doing this part of it. Once we know where we wanna go, then we can ask Stantec to come in and draw it out.
Mine's a sketch to give to
Yeah.
Stantec.
So in this case, Mike, or maybe Julie, am I right that this goes where the current house is?
Yep.
The
Part
house
of
goes
it.
away?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we should talk about that.
I'll give you as a committee, I'll give you a fair warning. We had a major cheese supplier south of Fond du Lac who wanted to take a existing farmhouse, not much different than yours, and try to do something with it. And it was cheaper. You couldn't. If you do anything with that house outside of being a house, it has to be brought up to current commercial building code, and it's not going to work.
I don't think we should do anything with it. We should just look at it.
You could do that too, but if you have any plans of doing anything with it,
It's like one of the only things, it's, you know,
I might agree with you on that.
thank you, Denise, that's good to know.
We
Okay.
still have to maintain it.
I mean, people don't even know what stuff used to look like anymore, let them go look at that, I mean, I'm serious, I love that little corner, but that's me.
Use it for employee housing.
Well, we probably get in trouble for that, I don't know,
Well, you could use it for that, for residential. There's your
But-
marina house.
but that little, people then would know it kind of was a farm once upon a time, it was 100-year-old farm.
But that's not a decision we have to make today.
No, we don't, I'm sorry, we're going down another rabbit hole, okay.
well, to that point though. Going back to this proposed site plan, this is not where you all want this, right?
I don't want it there, no, that's me, neither does, I think Denise, I don't know if anybody else.
I think it takes away from the current buildings that are.
It
there
does,
today.
yeah.
Okay. Where would you like to place the building then, so I can put together some sort of site sketch?
In the field.
Out here?
Right,
Yeah.
see the name, where you have moved picker sheds,
Yep,
that name, so like someplace over in there.
okay,
Garden.
I don't know the community garden,
Plenty
but
other
someplace
space.
over
for
there,
community garden.
there's lots
Yeah.
of space for the garden.
I think you do want to space, in my opinion, I think you do want to space it out a little bit, because if these are supposed to look like farms on rural land, you don't want the houses one on top of you. Even though it's an admin building, you don't want them one on top of each other. I think
Okay.
you do want to space it out a little
Mhm.
bit.
Well, that's what is that field is gotta be, what is that,
40
20 acre, it's a 40
40.
acre, so move it close to
Got room.
Danny's house.
Yeah,
Move
you've
it
got-
close to Miles, he can go over and
It'll
plow it
cost,
for us.
it'll increase sewer and water costs, because we don't have any other sewer and water down there, but
Yeah. Unless it went further down Fieldcrest.
To sewer and water go down
I
field
mean, Woodcrest.
or Woodcrest? I don't
no,
think
and
it
I
does.
have to be honest with you, once we get on the other side of the barn, we'd have to do a little testing. That was a former cherry orchard there, so we'd want to make, and that's also the area that the fire department said, if they ever rebuilt, that's the area they would like to be at. Because they'd like to be straight across from any future road coming off Canterbury. So as Canterbury gets extended to Woodcrest, the fire department would like to be closer to that,
Oh, over on by what, okay,
Well, wouldn't that potentially be
south of the barn.
south of the barn?
then it'd be south of the barn, it would be
South of
on
the
Woodcrest, south of the barn,
Yep.
okay.
so the general consensus is to leave all the existing buildings alone?
Yes, sir, I think, that's why I'm speaking for the group, yeah.
I think so for now.
Yes, Mike, for now.
Okay. So we'll
What were you
put some
gonna say?
sort of parking out here.
Does that cost include the parking and extending the sewer and water to the property? And
No, it does.
The 3 million has to cover that.
It does,
Yep, the 3
Well,
million.
Mike
covers
just said
everything.
no, is that?
No, our 350 to 375 probably doesn't, but that's the point of what we're doing, is to get that figured out. Because usually 350 and 375 right now will build you a building, but it does not probably include site development.
yeah, it seems well.
So we make sure everything we do is within the 3 million.
Parking and,
That's why with the parks maintenance building, that included everything. Your landscaping, your parking lot, it has to include everything.
Infrastructure, lift stations, sewer and water.
okay,
So let's go back, Mike. So now that we know we have to put it up here somewhere, let's go back and finish up that conversation about stone versus rail.
I'm against the stone, I don't like the look at all.
Always no.
I agree with Denise. I actually like the railing because I think it looks more like a farmhouse. And we went and we pulled up old photos. Mike, do you have that one we were kind of using as a guide? We
Yeah,
were
it should have
looking
been on
at-
this, should have been on this PDF.
Yeah, it was a, and on, back in the day, it was a railing. And this, to me, the stone on the side makes it look like a barn.
Well, it's
It,
just a
it, it looks a little bit too commercial, blah. But
Yeah, I like it very much.
So that is what we were looking at as a guide. And how they did the railings and how the posts were.
But before we get hung up on that, we haven't answered the question about square footage. Are we going to leave the plan as is with the meeting rooms and all the other stuff, or are we gonna lop a big chunk of the building off?
Just make a motion that we accept the plan, from Mike that he presented, today. And we'll take a vote and we'll see where it falls.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Hi.
There we have it.
Okay, so we're gonna use this floor plan with the railings.
Well, we didn't really talk more about the railings. I don't care. It's fine. Railings, whatever.
Jerry, did you have an opinion about the railings?
No, I said I like the railing.
Railings, Lily, railings or stone?
Really?
Mike, railing or stone?
No opinion.
Louise, railing or stone?
I don't care.
You have two railings and the rest where I don't care, so we'll go with railings, Mike.
I don't love the stained glass, I'll tell you that, but
So let's go back and talk about the stained glass. So we were looking at, there was such a big void up there, it looked silly. So I said, well, what if I said that's the site of the First Baptist Church up here. I said, to give kind of honor or homage to it, what about like a stained glass window? So we thought we'd try that. If not, you have to do something, because that section there looks really odd.
I don't disagree.
Without
I just
nothing.
doesn't.
Is there a way
Fit.
that you still have the round window and not be stained glass?
Sure.
And would just kind of mimic the round windows that are on the village hall downtown?
Yeah, I think definitely, and that's a good idea, because the other thing was it was light passing through.
Right.
So, yeah, I think so. We just need, like I said, we needed something to break it up.
They have to be round. I like the round.
Mike, can you show just like you're doing, show the options, what it would look like without a round window?
Yeah, I can just basically block it out.
Well, if it was a square instead of round, I
Instead of
think is what
round.
Louis means.
So. Gonna have to use your imagination a little bit.
You
Put
could
a
put
big
out,
quilt up there, right?
I hate this idea, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. Cause what are on barns, and you see at farms, the hex signs?
Yeah, the barn quilts.
What kind of a hex sign can we put on this building? Let's see.
Well, a hex sign is a family sign, right? Doesn't it like lineage? But then there's also the barn quilt.
The barn quilts, you still need to know what you're putting up there,
Yeah,
because
you
some
need to know what it
people can
means.
interpret them.
They will
I
absolutely
can't.
interpret them.
Is
Yep,
that what you're looking at?
they'll absolutely interpret them
Yes.
however they want, so.
Okay.
We could do something that doesn't have everybody give us a lot of feedback.
Is there a seal for the village? You know,
Oh,
like a-
yeah.
You know,
It's
something
awful.
like that.
Well,
Let's
that's
not
what
use
we were,
that.
that's where we were talking about the stained glass, having it look like the logo, but show the windows, Mike.
I
Let's go
think
back to
just,
the
just
windows.
for light to come in, I think
Yeah.
that would be great. I don't think that's awful. I mean, it looks like a second floor.
Yeah, that feels more house-like than the round one.
Mike, and then bring up the house again so we can see how they had the windows on there.
Sure, 1 second. That's right. Got it. There we go. These had them side by side.
Did they have shutters on them or not?
No, we could add shutters if you wish.
Oh, I think it's much cleaner without them.
So you see Mike, go back to the picture.
I don't think it's the right proportion. Oh, but
But you know, maybe if they're together and they have that, I forget what you call it, the cornice or what, in the peak, you see, zoom in on it, Mike.
Yep.
Should there be something like that to help break that, the appearance of the tall wall up? Sure.
Is there a reason not to go all glass? If you want natural light?
Oh, so you have it on that side, yeah, just replicate it on the front too.
Yeah, it looks terrible. Wrong roof pitch.
This is a bit of an interpretation of a farm house at this point anyway.
Pretty much, yep.
Is that what we did? Oh, yeah.
and Mike, you thought those windows didn't look good?
Yeah, originally. I like the stained glass. I thought it was kind of a cool thing, but I mean if the consensus isn't there, I understand that too.
I think it looks fine.
You want to move them closer together or do you want to leave them apart?
I think you should try them closer together, because that's what they did back in the day.
Yeah, that's better.
It's not too terrible.
What's that thing called at the top,
like
Mike,
that better,
for the
Mike?
minutes?
Decoration.
Decorative.
Mike, should that be replicated then on the front, that lower, smaller gable, but at a different scale?
This is kind of more like an end wall. It's not
Not the window, the cornice. Or whatever.
yeah,
it's called.
we could, but we put some thicker trim on there.
Okay.
We could do something smaller, I guess.
Now that you went through all that work, Mike, was that on the one with the railing or the stone?
Really?
Okay.
As far as the height of that center section, does it have to be as high as it is? Could it come down some, or, so when I look at the side view, that roof seems really, really big.
You know, we looked at that, Jerry, but the pitch was not, so, again, if you go back to that house. Trying to replicate the pitch from that era, once you got flatter,
It lost
Yeah.
it, I see.
Let me see if I can it's come up a couple times. Let's see if we can let's see. Elevations. See, we take it from 20 to 15.
What's the name of the new event?
No one asked you, Siri.
Yeah.
Oops. It gets a little odd here. Let me fix this real quick.
I mean, I'm assuming a shorter center section reduces the overall cost, but
Yes and no, it's empty space.
so.
There is a cost, but it's not going to be like a giant.
Mhm.
A giant savings. It comes down to proportion of the building. You kind of lose that second story feel. Again, that's up to you guys if that's what you were looking for.
See, when you drop it, I don't think it looks like a second story farmhouse anymore.
I can't see unless they blow it up.
Looks more like a community church.
What's the linear, what's the length of the front?
Of the whole building.
Mhm.
147.
Actually 12 feet, okay. And how high is the pitch of that, the original pitch on that field?
We have a 12-12 pitch. And then on the side wings, we have 6-12.
12-foot long building, yeah. You go a lot shorter, it's gonna look, won't look as good.
See if we can look at it.
Is everybody okay with what the changes Mike made here right now?
With the windows and keeping the pitch at the 12-12.
And the cornice,
Yeah,
and putting it more on, or on ZZ instead of Woodcrest? In the site plan?
I'd be fine if it was further down Woodcrest, but not, I don't want those.
right, and
windows
I
to go
think
away.
that I think we need to.
I'm not
have
sure
that
I want to resolve that right at the moment, no.
And how traffic's going to flow, is that better? Woodcrest, I mean, ZZ and Woodcrest are both very busy, but for who's going to be coming and going there often, and I'm not talking about staff, but others, what access point makes the most sense?
Well, and ZZ's fast because they don't have to stop. They just keep on trucking. They don't have to stop at Woodcrest. Woodcrest, they slow down because they know they have to stop. So I'm just saying, I mean, Woodcrest may be a better option if it was further south.
I guess one of the I understand where you guys are going with this. For our purposes, for the opinion of probable cost, I just need a location that works 75% so that we can orientate the building north-south or east-west and kind of figure out a general flow. Like where would you, if, for instance, if you guys wandered it off Woodcrest.
I mean, and do we want all of the parking in front of the building? Or, because it looked like on the plan that you could access it from the back of the building?
Yeah, we were looking at,
So I think that and I know if you're doing 2 parking lots, I don't know if doing one bigger is going to save money, but do we want that all in the front yard?
when Mike and I were talking about it, and we're making some guesses or ideas, and I know in my mind, I was thinking, well, if you had the back one by the barn, that's one you would share, maybe the fire department is there someday, maybe someday you do have farmers markets in that barn. And you have the building, so you're all sharing what's not being used during the week is being used on
Sure.
the weekends and stuff, just so we're not covered with asphalt, but getting the most out of the property.
Well,
But maybe
parking in the back,
Woodcrest would be better, even though sewer and water, we're talking about some, additional linear feet, and sewer and water is gonna be going down Woodcrest sooner or later anyway, we all know that.
There's more of a chance of it going down Woodcrest than it is up ZZ, if that helps. I know we've talked before about it run down Woodcrest. I've had some initial conversations with a developer that's looking at something in that area, which would mean it has to run down there. Realistically, I think your more cost effective way, because you're gonna have, that's
And
where
then
you're
you
gonna
can
see
share
help.
the parking easier.
then having some parking behind, there's the rest of the property that will be developed in some fashion. Let's it be dual purpose, you've
Right.
got parking in the front and the back, and then it's not one.
Yeah, I
Mega
know,
lot.
I
Well,
had,
right, just like here, there's minimal out front, never enough. But a bunch of space. in the
Right.
back.
yeah.
What if you
when-
just Go ahead. If you do a smaller parking lot for your daily use, like your people come in with the water bill or the pay the fines or whatever, overflow and staff could be in the back. Staff could easily walk through right into the office and be done with it. Because again, playing the 80-20 rule, 80% of the time, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, you're gonna have how many people come through the office now, Julie? On a daily basis, 5 people, 10 people?
Oh, gosh, no.
No, a little more than that, but,
Okay.
you know, we had talked to that, you know, I had said to Mike, I said, when I think of a farmhouse, I don't think of a big parking lot in front. I think of a smaller one off to the side, hidden under the shade tree. So to me, it was, you have that front one for meetings, you have disabled people, elderly would use it. You have your deliveries, and then in back would be your main entrance for where people would park.
There's a lot more you could realize.
Now, do we have to have any sort of consideration for where the fire department might want to be in the future?
We could do that.
Well, we know that,
Kind of sort that out later.
yeah, I mean, it's like
Could be good.
15, 20 years down the line, road maybe.
Your idea of a lot.
I know
Yeah.
initially they said they wanted to be on Woodcrest south of the barn. I think they liked the idea of using the barn, but to be honest with you, I think the barn's being used right now for stuff anyway, so. I don't know if we really can look at that right now, about the use of the barn.
Mike,
Yep.
so here at the fire station, we have 14 spaces, which includes one handicap
Yep.
space, which is not enough. So I would suggest more than that, 20 maybe.
Yeah, we could double load it and have 10 on each side and have a driveway through. I'm kind of picturing a loop driveway, not a loop driveway, it's a little bit tough to draw an arc when I can't get at it, but you know, a driveway that,
Circle drive, kind of.
yes, yeah, something like this. Or you could come in, pull right through and you have double load it, stalls on both sides and come back out and then share this driveway to get to the back parking lot.
Mike, I think that part, can we wait to make those decisions? I mean, can you proceed with what you have to do without us making final decisions on that? Cause I think it's something we wanna think about and.
Yes and no, because what we can do then, the purposes of the gray boxes that you see and doing a quick layout is an easier takeoff to put into the project budget. We can throw a budget number. We could say X amount of percent of project budget shall go towards site development, asphalt, curb and gutter, all that other stuff. If you're okay with that, it's not going to be as precise as we could be. I get where you're going with it, Julian. I think I kind of agree with it. So let's back up one step here. Does the group agree that it wants to be off Woodcrest?
Well, I think your point was well taken, that ZZ is fast and they have no reason to slow down. Woodcrest, you have to come to the stop sign. Safety reasons.
Well, and also from a sewer and water perspective, you're right, Woodcrest is
Right.
gonna get it long before we work with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So Mike, is that proposed location, is that south of the other buildings or what's?
Left of the barn.
It is south. It's
South
Yeah,
of
south.
Woodcrest?
Anything else, Mike?
Well, do we like this location? At least at this point as a placeholder?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be further down, but that doesn't make a difference to you. You wanna know
No.
north, south, and you wanna know the coordinates, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the building orientation, north, south. Everyone's happy with that. We want parking in the back and in the front, right? Whether, however the driveways end up, they end up, but is this concept at least 40% there?
Yeah,
Or do we want parking front and side?
I think the big parking lot in back has to go to the north.
yeah, I'd have them front and back, 'cause that's where the
And
entrances
east-west,
are. If you have it
because-
on the side, they still have to walk around one side or the other to get in the building.
I
Yeah,
know, but
and
I'm
it serves
thinking
to
that you
serve the
have that
barn.
much more asphalt leading to that back parking lot. And so if it was more of an L shape,
Oh,
you have less asphalt.
Like Mike just didn't know.
Well, not knowing what's gonna go behind it.
Then it is a longer walk, but your handicap and your front parking should be,
Yeah, for a building that size, I mean, how many handicap spaces do we have to have?
my God.
Probably.
and there also can be more handicap in the back too, right by the entrance.
Mhm.
I guess that's,
Okay, Mike, put it in front and back for now.
Is this configuration, I think Juliet said, move it a little bit more north, the back parking lot. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be multi-purpose or we're just paying for parking lots that are gonna sit empty. That was only my thought, that it had to be closer to the barn.
How many stalls you want to throw in there for now?
What do you have, 20 in front?
Yep.
And you got,
well, we have to play it by our zoning code. That will dictate how much parking we put in.
I think, don't quote me, maybe 1 per 150 square feet, but, or look at the assembly of, Mike, I'll look at the code, zoning code tomorrow and let you know what that has to be.
Very good. So if it's, say if it's 100, just for sake of argument, 20 here, 80 back here.
we need 53.
Something like that.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay. Make a screenshot of this. So we're gonna go to floor plan with the railings. We like the windows the way we had it drawn. That's kind of how we want it to look.
Yep.
Okay. Screenshot of that too. And our
I am
floor,
gonna drive past the existing house to see if there's a cornice on it though. Cause if there is, a petition match.
well, we can find that out real quick.
You have a photo, don't you, Mike?
Yep, Google Earth.
Got the driveway.
Any day now.
yeah, it's one of the, like your internet's about as fast as ours.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it has any kind of cornice on it. Does that answer your question, Julie? Or whoever asked?
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Mike, thanks a lot. Thanks for your patience.
Not a problem.
So Mike, at the last meeting, you'll have some finals that we can use to put out for bid as well as the cost breakdown,
Yep,
the OPC.
yep. Husband, cost. Yeah, we didn't have renderings included, so yeah, we'll have a final floor plan and an OPC.
Yep.
I'll put together a schematic site plan that at least we can do takeoffs from, and again, that's something that can be hashed out in further meetings, but at least there'll be a jump off point for the site. Whether it's, further down the road, like was mentioned, or if the driveway changes, whatever, at least there'll be a cost associated to some sort of concept.
Yeah, because after that, then we'll start working with Skylar on site
Yep.
detail.
Yep. Okay,
All right, thanks, Mike.
thank you, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
So before we get off of item A, I just would like to revisit the idea that we move this in the SIP, we move it out to 2026. I don't see any side to it. I see some upside in terms of giving us some more time. But I'm not sure how the committee feels. If you don't think that we need to do that, then.
I think the biggest downside is construction costs.
Mhm.
Biggest upside would be interest rates, do who knows what.
Well, when are we going out to borrow for it?
We'll go out this spring.
This
So-
coming spring, 25.
Five.
Either way,
Yeah,
We are
well-
gonna go out in 25.
we would look
Borrow?
in 25 to, yeah, because we would need money for fall of 25. If you don't, everything in your SIP is gonna go backwards. You're gonna push everything back. Because you're not gonna have this project with another large project in the same year. What you
Okay.
do is you try and time your CIP, so you've got, I don't wanna say that you want one large project a year, but you don't want two large projects every year, right?
Mhm.
So you time it out, and what we did for the last 2 years and said, okay, we're gonna do this year, we're gonna do these roads this year, we're gonna do ice rink this year, and so we timed it out, so it was spread out evenly,
Okay,
so that we didn't, so we weren't spending too much money in one year.
Mhm.
And so that it didn't hurt the taxpayer as bad, and by that I mean for this coming year, we know with this and with this project moving forward. So far, the taxes should not go up.
okay.
Depends what the finance committee does and what the board does. But we should be okay without seeing any increases.
Okay.
You push it back a year, you're looking at another million, I don't know, it's something we didn't project, because all along the board's been saying, this is when this is gonna happen. So we didn't run the numbers to say, what if it happens now in 26 or 27?
is the timing a recommendation we make or is that a board decision?
Board already decided it, but I think the question is, should it be reconsidered?
That's what I was asking.
I think you also have to look at the taxpayer and explain to the taxpayer, we bought this property and why we're not doing something with it.
Well, we should also, maybe they want to wonder what we're doing at Wiltsey, and that's been a few years, but I'm just wondering what. I just want to make sure we have the time to do all the things we have on our plate, because we keep putting things on our plate.
Well,
And I'm wondering what
actually,
we're gonna do, because pretty soon we're gonna be talking about what we're doing with the old Parks building, which will be old in about 6 months.
well, we actually did, so we had pushed the post office back, we pushed Pebble Beach back, we pushed Woodland Trail back, we pushed Highway 42 Trail back. We pushed a lot of stuff back to make sure this happened.
To build, the two buildings we're building. Mhm. I
Yeah.
understand, I know.
When did we make a decision on the old Parks building?
So, that'll be this coming year. What happened is,
Well,
so
I
we,
think the decision was made.
well, this,
Because there's $75,000 in the budget to demo it.
yeah, that way so there's 75,000 into demo it. The part that has to be discussed yet was, we had originally talked about the post office going there. Postal office didn't get back to us. I'm now in, discussions with the post office again. So we don't know we know the building has to come down. What we don't know is it gonna be the post office site or not?
Yeah, but I thought our lease with the post office isn't up for like 2 years,
26.
end of next year.
Yeah, so we'll have to either
I
do
don't
a
think they're
year
gonna
to
move
year
before that, right? We'd have to sign another lease with them for a new location. wouldn't we?
or year to year, renew it where it is. We have to,
They won't talk to us
they just started last week.
outside a certain time.
Right, that's what Emil always told me, so they're gonna talk to us now.
They just, last week, they contacted us and.
Right.
You know what
Emil's
it
been
is?
gone a while.
You know what it is? It's the feds at the very top,
Oh, yeah, for
are
sure.
the ones that do the negotiating and talking.
Is there a
They just
guarantee that if that contract ends, that we'll have a post office here in
Nope.
Sister Bay?
No, there's not.
No, they told us that if we didn't sign it this last time, that they most likely, would close it.
Yeah, so why don't we just sell this building and use the money toward this administration building? Reduce the debt.
We have to have those conversations yet. I mean, we also didn't decide what we're doing with the old admin building. Selling, I
Right.
would assume if you sold that, that would go towards reducing the debt. I mean, that's the smart thing to do, but we haven't gotten that far yet.
So why pay money to tear it down? We can just sell it. I mean.
Right.
Is that a B1? That's B1, B2?
The admin building would be.
No. Parks.
Parks is institutional.
Everybody wants us to make it into parking, why would we sell
Well, I wouldn't wanna make it into parking. We don't need parking.
Yeah,
it? That building is not worth saving.
No.
No, but-
let somebody else demo it.
Right.
And build something there.
so nobody's gonna keep it,
The Parks building.
but we don't have to pay for it.
Why get it? We'll
Get
let them
that tore
demo it.
down.
Fence, if you
Well,
don't.
that's a
keep it-
conversation for another day, right?
I got it, right. So where does that conversation start? Plan?
The,
I mean, we've been through this with Stantec and heirs, and I know it's like a domino thing, but how do we start that? Where does that conversation start again? At what committee, or is
I
it at
guess
the board
it's-
level?
I guess we don't talk about it until Julie gets a definitive from the post office.
Okay,
and I talked to them again today.
and that could be another, well, it could be a year, if
It
that
could.
contract isn't up till the end of next year, right?
It could, I'm hoping it moves faster. I've told them that we have been waiting to hear from them and we've wanted to work with them,
Mhm.
so.
Well, sure, it's gonna be after November, and then we'll see what happens with that, but either way, it's gonna be a bit. Okay. All right, so, I'm assuming that no one wants to move this out in the SIP, is that a good assumption, everyone?
What, is it possible to have it happen next year, or is it gonna be a 26 project? It is gonna be a
The admin
26,
building,
yeah,
it's in the SIP for 25. It's 2025 project.
Right, he's asking if it will get.
I mean, why wouldn't we move it up to 26 if that's when it's gonna happen?
Cause it's gonna happen in 25. So Mike is done. Now it goes for construction drawings and then it goes out for bid and then we line up the construction.
So we're gonna basically go out and tell the village residents that we're building a $3.7 million administration building.
3 million,
Wasn't it 3.7?
no, it's 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, 3.2, something like that with infrastructure.
Parks was 4-1.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm getting him, Parks was 4.1, I apologize, thought it was 3.7, it's 4.1. And this building's,
3 million is what we told them last year when they approved it.
So we'll be just done with parks and we'll start building it.
it seems like if we can push this out, we at least buy ourselves some time and it doesn't look like we're
But then,
spending money so fast.
I know, but we have been planning on this for years.
and you're also gonna have to raise taxes at some point or stop or do something else because then you'll be having multiple big projects instead of doing one a
You don't
year.
ever have to raise taxes. There's always options.
Okay, well, let's just say you wanna continue with road repairs.
Okay,
and
let's
stuff.
just get back. Do we want to have a motion
To
and
my
a vote
question.
so we don't have to?
I
debate it?
make a motion that we move this SIP item from the 25 budget to the 26 budget because I believe that's where it actually will happen.
And that'll be a recommendation of the board.
A recommendation to the board, correct?
That'll go to finance.
It'll go to finance.
Or finance.
Who
We'll
meets
So,
be
tomorrow.
at finance tomorrow. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed. Okay, so it's gonna stay in 25. Okay, there we are. Next up, Chris, thank you for your patience, is 6B, Mill Road East parking. Can I try to make this real quick?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so we added the extra yellow stripes. We'll take away the Robbie blocks and we'll see how the extra yellow stripes work. Is that okay?
Great.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's what we
Anyone
discussed last
opposed?
time anyways.
All right, I know the Robbie blocks are awful. I know they are. They serve their purpose, believe me. I've used them many a time at an event. They may not be ideal for where you are.
But if they don't work,
If they don't work, this
I
is a
don't wanna have
caveat.
another meeting.
100%.
agenda
If they
with that
don't
on.
work, then we have to come up with another solution to block people from driving their cars into that space. You know?
No, I'm saying, then the Robbie blocks go back up. I don't want this on another agenda
Right.
item. I am
Right.
tired of talking
Unless
about
we
this.
can, well,
No
I mean, I
offense,
think they are too. We all are. You know, but maybe we can come up with a different kind of, it's the only thing we had.
No, and
So-
I'd like to help on that too. We've actually reached out to a company that's gonna call Chris and make sure he understands it and propose some other options. I know there was some other pieces put in the last agenda or packet. Come up with just some other options. that
Okay.
would be-
Okay, I mean, I know it's a learning curve for everybody, and you know, when you don't wanna walk someplace, you just do what you do. So, but we've got some busy weekends coming up, it'll be a good time to check it out. You know, pretty soon, we're gonna, I mean, I know it's September, but September is busy. And October will be super busy, so we'll see how it works. Is that all right?
Yep, great, thanks.
Do we need a vote on that or anything? Anybody?
Well, I think
I
you
mean,
just
that's,
need,
that's what we discussed
Staff
last
just
time, so
direct
it's just.
staff to remove the Robbie blocks.
Okay,
And
I think Eric's
If
on,
the
Eric, are you on
striping
the phone?
does
maybe?
not suffice, then the Robbie blocks go back out.
So, well, let's talk about timing. So, if Eric can remove them by this, what's today, Monday? If they can be removed by this weekend, I know they're heavy, I know they got a lot to do, but if they can remove them by this weekend, then we'll just monitor it and see, okay? I volunteer, I'll drive by. I have nothing else to do on Friday and Saturday nights, I'll just drive by and see you.
I need help with the shop.
Yeah, help with the shout, yeah, I can't make coffee. I can't even make it at home. Just ask you. Mill Road West tree planting. Okay, this was me, and it looks like we can't plant trees there because of the root systems.
but you can do shrubs.
We could do shrubs or $1,500, it's hydrangea
Well, you could do anything.
or anything.
I
Well,
just
you-
recommend.
Yeah, but use, I just cringe at,
I would like green.
you
I
want
would
green.
like,
Okay.
whether, if you don't like boxwood or you.
I like boxwood, but they're so little. You know, from a scale standpoint, don't you think they're kind of little?
Not once they grow,
Can you buy big boxwood?
I don't know, I think that we should get some pictures.
I like green too, I love boxwood, believe
And
me.
I understand Julie's point about that we have planted it, but we are planting them everywhere and they're being planted too much. And if we want to use some places, but we
Yeah.
need to get away from the walls of the.
Well, and-
What are we planting too much? I'm sorry.
Hydrangea, we have a
Oh.
lot. Well, the other part of it too is, it's not that they're dirty, but they shed and then there's that and blah, blah, blah. And I like the green idea. And I love boxwood.
I think the green year round is more of what we need in
It's
this
fine.
particular space.
Okay. I just
So-
from a scale standpoint, you know, it's kind of a big island and some of those boxwoods are like, if we can get big would be
I mean,
nice.
you look at what Al's did and they did something, they're keeping theirs small, you just have to let them grow and then
Yeah.
granted, yes, you need to.
There's plenty of
shade
sun,
them.
but they gotta be watered. Okay.
So does
Hey
somebody-
Denise, yeah, on that waterfront, do they demand a lot of water right there? Cause that's a very dry area.
Well, new plantings are gonna need water anyway. I will volunteer to check it out. I'll ask Joy what would be the hardiest. Because ideally,
I would suggest something very hardy. Because that spot gets a lot of sun. And it would be, difficult to get water to it on a volume scale every single day.
I think we need to ask Kaylee,
okay, well,
not
that's Joy
Joy,
then.
because wouldn't they be the ones installing it?
Kaylee would install it. So let's talk about this.
All right.
If you want this to happen this year, there's no money left for it. If you want it to happen next year, we need to make a recommendation to finance.
Well, the best kind of plan is in the fall, so I'd prefer to, it's $1,500, I'd prefer to do it in the fall. You know, but if we don't have any money for $1,500, then we don't have any money.
Well, if the committee tells us to spend it, we spend it in the budget.
I don't even know how long that
We
is.
won't go over budget because there would be a budget amendment that we
Right,
do
you-
every year.
You would do the budget.
We have an
amendment.
undesignated balance fund.
So.
When you calculated the $1,500, how many did you buy? I mean, do you, considering that's pretty long
I just looked at what we paid in the past for approximate distance. like
for that
so-
distance. Okay.
Okay, so to get this planted this fall.
Yeah.
We'll contact Kaylee. We'll have Kaylee give us a design
Mhm.
and a bid. To come back here, that means that's October. That might be too late.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if this is, I know fall's a good time to plant, I just did a bunch myself, but for some of these plants, it's not so good, and do we have to worry about snow? And if there's no snow piling here or anything, we're okay
Well, there'll
with
be
that.
snow there, yeah, for sure, but once the roots.
We might be actually better off putting them in the spring and giving them a season.
All right,
to get
then let's
harvested.
do it in spring. We don't have to worry about an amendment. We'll just do it then. That's fine.
Well, like Denise said, we're just gonna transfer the funds to cover it, but. So if we went with Kaylee, what I was gonna recommend is that I just send the plan electronically and we do an electronic consensus.
Okay,
I don't want them to die, that's the only thing.
well, they can't die.
You
They
know?
I
won't
think they
die.
guarantee them.
Oh, well, that's good.
Well, either way, who wants to plant them again? No one. And
Where's
then,
Kaylee? Name of her business.
Door landscape.
Okay.
you know, there's water on the side of, I think we should talk about the outlets on the side of, Zeke's Market. There might be an outlet there. Because for these guys to, let me think about that. We might be able to just use like that in a hose. I mean, it doesn't take much. You know what I mean? Rather than,
Just get it so early.
And let's just wait till spring.
fine.
But Kaylee can start working on it now, so we can possibly have it at our next meeting with something hardy, something green. Because I think it should probably grow at 3 feet tall. Is that what you're envisioning?
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
At least, yeah.
Are we talking on both sides of that parking lot? Because I saw.
No,
cars pulling up-
there's only one area.
Okay, just that one.
All
area.
So it's a cement
Yeah.
island essentially.
Yeah, I know where we're,
Stop.
but on the other side where they put that new lot in, I saw a couple cars pop the curb and park on the grass there. It's like,
We're gonna plant a tree there. hopefully.
New lot, you talking about the one by the t-shirt shop?
yeah,
Oh.
that's what I
I thought
was
we
wondering
can't
if we're
plant a
gonna
tree there
plant there
because of
too.
roots. Because of the root systems.
I thought over there it was better.
Fine. We'll put that on next month's agenda.
Which one?
Let's plant a tree there. You know where the exit to
But
the,
not till after.
to the-
Fall Fest,
the exit-
because we've rented a
exit
booth
entrance
there.
to the parking lot is?
Oh,
this-
yeah, you
That
mentioned
parking
that
lot,
last time.
okay?
Well,
So
I
you
did-
drive in,
Somebody did.
here's the, t-shirt shop, right? Okay, so there's that little area here
This one?
that's curved, that has, I couldn't read that map, that's
Yeah.
got grass.
Right there.
Yeah, that's what we had talked about last month. We talked about 2 locations, and that's
We
why,
put-
that's why she drew them both, because we talked about, I asked her, last month, I was
So
supposed to
you're
ask her about
including,
this one.
So
and
that
this one.
location is on there too?
Yep,
Oh, I didn't
So
realize that.
included in- Sorry. it's
Yeah, if we can put some
something
bushes
that-
there so people stop parking
if you
there.
guys
'cause-
approve.
Yeah, they're gonna still park there. They'll go right over the,
So have her look at that location
for
too.
sure.
Well,
Cause
it seems like you already did, at least in this map, or are proposing that.
she drew the storm lateral there, so you could see what you're dealing with,
Mhm.
just to show like, you shouldn't be planting trees in here, you got utilities, you got storm, you got.
We could do
street,
bushes.
But you could do bushes there.
I see it. Now I know what I'm looking at. For a minute, I'm like, wait, what am I couldn't figure out where Mill Road
I'll have
was.
Kaylee look at both those locations.
Okay. Mel, do we need a motion or anything for that?
No,
Okay. Next agenda item number 6D, which is Gateway Park Building Schoolhouse display.
this is
So-
just to see if anybody has any issues. I mean, the Historic Society wants to use it, for another presentation. I'm glad the building's getting used. Do we want to have agreements or anything, or just let them do it?
Just let me do
I'm
it.
ready to do it, for sure.
The last one was really cool.
Pardon?
Their last one is really cool.
They said you were there with your.
Connor went, right?
Yeah. It's all really like it. It's fun.
Next up, which is a great item, agenda item number 6E, Grutzmacher Recognition Little Library Proposal.
Did anybody talk to Marge about
I
this?
haven't yet, but we should see if it's okay with her, and also she should help us design it in the colors.
Well, there's also a little library, a couple of houses down from me. That
Is
is
it?
not mentioned. It's at Sharon Dorshing's old house.
It may not be part of the Little Free Library database,
Yeah, it's not, but it could be there, just not part of
because
it.
there's another one I'm aware of that's not in this
Why
either.
can't- But why can't we make it that?
Well, we can just put it on our, I mean, for our purposes, we can just add it to our list. We don't-
Cherrywood too.
So my wife wants me to put one of these up. Are there rules around these things? Do we have to get a permit to put these up? I've never even thought about it.
Well,
I don't know.
mailboxes, school bus shelter, stuff like that is exempt.
Okay,
I would say it's gotta be out of the right of way. Can't block a
For
visual
sure.
clearance.
so you
street.
put it as far up as you put a mailbox, but we don't need any special. Except we want to register them so we can publish it someplace or,
Well, there's a database that keeps track of them, and that's what we're talking about. There's a lot of them here that are not on that database, but
okay,
it is, so if you're going to a town, you can find them, but. Yeah,
Has that ever come before the plan commission before? No.
Nope, so we're gonna have to, write some rules.
look at it.
So as far as this one goes, I
Now, will
think,
you refer to plan commission
Yeah.
agenda to?
do we want to first approach Marge, make sure she's comfortable with this?
I
And
think
then
she is, but I'm
Okay.
saying, instead of us picking something out, because
she should design it, yeah.
she should decide kind of what it looks like.
Yep.
And because I picked out the one near that's above the lighthouse, that's on the brick wall. Kind of
Okay.
festive and
Uh-huh.
bright and colorful, and also the one on the top that was orange. Because all I can remember is that fancy pair of tennis shoes that she wore, and I think she would love something vibrant and
For
abstract.
sure, a
like
lot
that.
of color,
A
absolutely.
lot of color.
Yeah.
And I thought.
is this a memorial?
No, Marge is still alive.
Oh, I didn't know, I,
She's a big reader and
okay.
she was
I
a
didn't
teacher.
know.
She was a teacher. She'd appreciate the fact that you thought she might be dead, though. I'll mention it to her.
So are we talking about, is this a standard we're gonna use for all of them, or,
No, just for
No.
hers.
okay,
So did you read this, Mike?
They're all unique
I did,
designs.
but I don't remember
They're
reading
like
the
really
mailbox
unique
piece.
designs that are appropriate for maybe the person that installed them, maybe the location where they are, things like that.
Okay,
The little
I
mini lending
I think
library.
she might like the bench idea too.
I think
the
bench. And not one of our village benches.
Well,
I
she has
mean,
her own bench already, so you're right.
something that actually could be put away for the winter.
Mhm. The
So-
bench lady is darling, yeah.
So let's break it down. Do we all agree this is something that we think is appropriate for March?
Yes.
For
Yes.
recognition, okay. Do we all agree March should pick it out
Yes.
solely up
She
to her?
could lend her, what kind of design she
Give
would like.
suggestions.
Okay,
for the
and then
design.
we'll have an artist make it, okay, where do we want it? Let that up to March? It's gotta be on public property.
I'd
Do
ask her opinion.
you want it coming back, or do you want us to just move forward and do
Wouldn't
it?
we want it,
Move forward.
I think the plan, she was on the plan commission, so plan commission can have a conversation on where we think an appropriate place is. I mean,
So she gives
I
us.
think we
input on
already
the
know
location.
because it was suggested the pavilion.
The music
area.
pavilion, yeah. Well, it's near the beach, that'd be kind of cool.
Right. So I think it should, the first one that the village does should be near the waterfront. So
Mhm. There is a question too on who like kind of takes care of it. I'm not quite sure who takes care of others, to tell you the truth, but
Property owners?
who would own it and make sure it's okay. So,
village, parks department would make sure that it was.
you
Everybody
can
good?
actually buy them online, pre-made.
I think that's pretty easy to make. I mean, I think that,
this
you
is gonna
know,
be custom made, this is for March.
But but I mean, they're waterproof. I looked into
Waterproof?
these.
They're probably
low
only-
maintenance.
I know that when you get them by the water, they're there are some issues with them because the one by me down in Algoma,
Well, that's true.
the door swells, the
Yeah.
hinges rust.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not in operation and they have to take the books out. So we do want to make
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
it's
books
big,
are-
sealed,
Weatherproof.
weatherproof, empty at certain times of the year.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll work with Marge on that and then it'll go to plan commission and then it'll get erected and have a groundbreaking thing with her recognition.
Dedication.
yeah,
Dedication.
dedication is fine.
Yeah.
So,
I think she will love that more than a plaque.
Much more, yeah.
so the plan commission's gonna be asked to designate the location, okay?
With Marge's input. Huh? Okay, on to agenda item number 6F. Eric, are you still with us?
Yep.
Okay, so this is about the lighting outlets on Waterfront Park for not just holiday lights for sure, but also sometimes we need them for, we're plugging other stuff in during an event. So this map is great. So it tells us where we currently have power, and is this where the plan to add, where we want the new power to be added?
Yeah, those are the new squares.
Yeah,
Right.
So yeah, the map is gonna show you current power placement along with what me and Julie kind of came up with as a rough draft. Where we felt like power could be added.
Huh? Okay. Okay, well,
I also met with Mike Mulvey out there and they looked at, the sprinkler lines too.
oh, okay,
And so when they had talked about it, Eric and I talked about, it, he met with Mike and this was based on where it's recommended that would not interfere with the water lines.
okay. Well, I think the ones on the corner of Mill and 42, based on my experience and needing power outlets, and also, Eric, you know what you need for the, for the, tunnel and stuff. Those look fine to me.
This eliminates a lot of our issues with extension cords everywhere and stuff getting shorted. and-
Right. Right, because the current power for the bathrooms, for everybody's benefit, is on the west side of that building. Right, Eric? And there's one on the north side too, right? The bathroom.
Now, this is just, the rough initial draft. There hasn't been deep dive discussions yet with the two electricians that I've talked to see if this stuff is doable. So everything here is tentative to change, and, as we get further along in this process, this is just the launching point to see what the committee thinks about placement, and I tried my best to think about the irrigation system, like how is it going to interfere with that as well, and also to see if we're going to be able to pull power to these locations without disturbing as much as possible.
Well, this is something we talked about a lot, I don't know, 18 months ago, just all of the challenges around power and extension cords and a lot of the ways things were done in a
Yeah.
less than safe manner for the public and that this was needed. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that it didn't
Yeah.
get lost.
So the power you'd install, there'd be 2 outlets, 4 outlets? When you put it in? How many?
I was thinking about going with 4 because I always think there's more the merrier. I mean, it all predicates on cost and if we can get a lot of power out to these locations.
Okay. Alright.
More circuits, more wires, more cost, more, if we have the capacity.
Gotcha. I just, based on my experience, sometimes you can only have one guy plug in because of what he draws.
The electrician will be able to tell us.
I know, but
Do.
it's just what the reality is, but what were you gonna say, Denise?
I said because the holiday lighting committee won't be able to,
Use this.
it needs to use this and, we're gonna follow the plan that was set up a few years ago. That we need to make sure that there's enough outlets, especially on the waterfront area where there's definitely dead spots currently.
Yeah. Eric, one quick question, the new pavilion, I know this is an old shot and the pavilion's been expanded. So behind the post office,
Yeah,
there's power right there as you walk out to the beach, you know, there's that one, unit that has, I think, 2 outlets or something there. Is there power in that new pavilion?
no, there is no
We
power.
Put that in later.
Not yet.
We actually met the electrician about that today because the
Okay.
committee, the Parks Committee wanted it run to the gazebo
I
for
remember,
the
for the
future
gazebo, yeah.
island. So that's what we talked about. So it'll be taken out where, I don't wanna say taken out, but you won't have that outlet where it is right now.
the
Instead,
beach.
it'll run over to the gazebo and up into the gazebo.
Okay. All right, because there'll be holiday lighting, we'll want something out there, and I don't know how many you're gonna put in there.
So Eric's thought,
Decorate the
Yep.
gazebo.
Yeah.
Eric's thought was, if there's 4 outlets in the gazebo, then they could use that.
For sure,
I mean, it's
that's a
3
good
feet
place
away,
for it, yeah,
so-
no, it's a good place for it, because we always decorated too, we decorated some of those hydrangea that run parallel to the parking. At the post office, and that was an extension cord from, all the way from the beach, which was crazy, but, okay. Okay,
All right, so basically Eric will get back to us.
Eric, he wants to get it done before winter, but you guys had asked, when we reported last month, you guys said you wanted to approve his plan.
I know, but he said he hasn't taken the deep dive, so this is just a proposal.
He has met with one, but he has to get 3 bids on it, so he has to meet with 2 more to try and get the lowest cost. But he's trying to get it done before winter, in time for Christmas.
So is it okay then if we just say it was a consensus that the plan is accepted as presented and that Eric shall do further research regarding it?
Continue to get bids.
Okay, sure.
the only other thing I would look at, on page 28, Eric. Across the street from the boathouse. You know,
Yes.
you got current, you may wanna think about doing something just south of there. You know,
Okay,
I don't know,
that is a little dead zone right there, yeah. I could ask them, that's a little problem area right there. They were both scratching their heads, you know, how they were gonna go about. One had one idea, the other one had another idea.
Right.
My problem with the contractors is like, they're so busy that they can't even give me even a ballpark estimate yet on this. They haven't been, you keep telling me we're gonna get to it, we're gonna get to it, we're gonna get to it. So I've been asking, and I still haven't received anything from them. I'm hoping that I can, you know, you guys, you know, that's good, Louise. You know, thank you for that. I can definitely add that to them. Does anybody else see anything, you know, that they'd like added that they don't quite, you know, understand? Is there any other questions on placement of pedestals in the future? Or if you guys
anything
would
out of the sport, do we
other
need anything
ones
out of the
somewhere?
sports complex?
say that again?
Need anything out of the sports complex?
You know, that's another area, you know, that could see some. I talked only with Action Electric about extending the sports complex. That was early spring. But once I found out that $25,000 set aside for electrical upgrade was mainly for the downtown area, I kind of shifted my focus, and then me and Julie kind of came up with this. And I redirected my efforts into getting the contractors to kind of look at this area. Now, if we could definitely spread that money around, because Gateway has already been done. My staff did Gateway in February, and that's all due to get hooked up once Mike from Action comes down and, you know, changes out the street lights in the park facility. But, you know, I'm waiting on him to give me this as well. And, you know, if you guys can see anything, or if you don't like anything, or you want me to add something, you know, now is the time to let me know so I can get with those contractors while we're still in this infancy stage
I
to
don't think
possibly.
we need anything out of the sports complex at this point in time.
It's not a priority right now,
Right.
no, but at some point,
And so
Be good.
when you're looking at page 27, which is the village hall,
page 28.
And that's where the big cluster of all the homemade, Christmas trees are, along with the big, evergreens. And then there's a huge gap.
So where the volleyball net is?
Are you talking about in front of the pavilion, or are you talking about,
Page 27.
sorry, I'm looking at 27. Where am I? Yeah, I see it. Okay.
Okay, there's a huge gap from the current power, the new power, that's where they put up a whole bunch of the homemade Christmas trees that I love so much. And there's just, then if you scroll down to 28, there's like nothing else then.
Yeah, I just asked him about putting more on the south end of page 28.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about north of the kiosk?
So we do have a couple of pedestals running along the highway there, Denise, and we also utilize that watershed that houses our sprinkler irrigation pump in it, that displays the deer in the forest, and the volleyball netters, the gingerbread volleyball netters are ran off one of the silver pedestals that are already in place. I did not, add or think about adding anything there because as far as placement of new things going in that location, I did not have anything planned for that down the line.
May not have it planned, Eric, but I am the chair of the new holiday lighting committee, and there will be new things.
Oh, most definitely. So if you would like to add something right there, you can kind of see on page, I believe it's 28, that boat rental kiosk there. If you want another pedestal coming down to that boat rental, for the future, I can definitely have that conversation with the electrician there, because I do believe if you go just south of the highway of that picture there's that silver already in place pedestal.
Yeah, there is. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea.
But I can definitely make a note for you, Denise, to talk to them about maybe extending more power down to that area for you to be more flexible.
I just want to make sure that we have the entire waterfront covered, and maybe we can't get everything done this year or whatever, but knowing that we have a plan.
Of where they're going.
Right.
And about what it costs.
Yeah, there are some gaps that I left within this. I mean, just because, I'm working off of what has been out in the field in the past. So my whole objective was cord cleanup to minimize the tripping hazards down the line. Now, with future development and future planning as far as Christmas decorations, I took that into account slightly, but I mainly focused on cord cleanup and optimizing power to where it was needed the most.
Well, we're gonna, to make it as simple as possible, we will need electricity all on the waterfront, from the restrooms to the marina.
Eric and I did talk a little bit about the village hall. I was a little concerned about investing too much power there, knowing that we might be remodeling that this year. So I didn't want them to put something in that we're gonna tear out, because it seemed to be a waste of money,
Okay.
but.
Denise. I'm sorry, Julie. Denise, I did not do anything in Marina Park right next to the Marina building across from your gas station. Are we thinking we might want some options in that park facility as well?
No, it can just go up to the marina, but drive, current marina building. It doesn't have, I don't think we need anything in Marina Park.
I think you have to wait until we see what's going on with that marina building, or again, you might be
Yeah,
tearing
I
something
know,
out that you just.
but there's really, once you get to the marina driveway, there's no place to,
There's nothing there.
there's nothing there. So it's basically up to the driveway.
So no, Eric.
Eric, for the hydrangeas to the south of the post office, that kind of island that's surrounded by sidewalk on page 27 towards the top, how do those, is there decorations that go there? And if so, how are they powered? It looks like there's a pedestal there, maybe, or they're plugs.
When we decorated for Halloween,
hydrangeas?
that was a.
Yeah, the hydrangea's right by the post office parking.
Louis said before they were running them from the outlet by the.
They went
gazebo.
all the way to the gazebo.
Yeah, which is
We
a
decorate, we
long
decorated for
I
Halloween.
think Hazard Court.
Because we decorated for Halloween, so those have little orange twinkle lights or whatever we were doing with them. And those went, there were 2 or 3, probably 3 extension cords that went all the way even east of, you don't see where the current power is, but it's outside of the gazebo.
But is there a lamp post there that we could tee off to get some outlets so we don't run anything across that sidewalk?
No, there's no lamppost there.
What's the tall thing casting a shadow?
So that's the one we were talking about before. So that light pole gets removed.
Right.
And then that outlet gets run over to the gazebo for the new counter.
And
So-
you couldn't tee it there to have a outlet there and the counter, or you need all the power for the gazebo?
All the power needs to be maximized on the gazebo as far as, you know, cooking and holding on all that stuff. That's why that decision was made.
You couldn't leave an outlet where the post was, got it.
Eric, do we bury all the new lines? Do we, or do we bore under concrete, or how do we do that stuff, or do we make the electrician do that for us?
Electrician does.
That's gonna be contracted with the electrician.
Okay, you guys, are we good with that? Okay. Plastic baler proposal, Julie, 6G.
So, everybody's read the staff report. Basically, I think it's a great idea. I think we need to wait and see what Going Garbage says. Like I said, I'm meeting with them next week.
Jeff's
If-
on the call. but-
Oh, Jeff is, good. And then if it doesn't work out with Going Garbage, then I think we need to discuss this again and see if there's a location that we should talk about. I know at first we had talked about going in the old fire station. We know that building's not gonna be there forever. We know it's not gonna be vacated until May 1st. But if Going Garbage can run it as a Northern Door program, that'd be awesome.
Mhm.
And then I do think to make it easier, because to make sure Going Garbage is interested in doing the program, is if each community still has their own drop off spot, so Going Garbage is just going to one location in each community and picking it up. But I gotta talk to Jeff about that. Like I said, we have a meeting. set
Yeah,
up.
could you please unmute yourself?
You know, one of the concerns is that you do have to collect 40,000 pounds in a year. And I know we have a lot of plastic, but that's a lot of plastic for a small community, so it would be better.
We need
If we
everybody's
could-
surrounding Liberty Grove. and everybody
Yeah,
else.
it would be better. And I know Denise, I think you're the one who had said, why not see if Going Garbage would do it, so but like I said, reach out to Jeff, we have a meeting scheduled, so I think we should just hold off on this until after the meeting with Jeff. But this is to bring you up to date where we're at.
So
Can I
the
just
way-
mention, something that got mentioned earlier real quick? I know we had, you know, my old building got brought up and I think the proposal of putting this thing in my old building was proposed to me. You know, you guys just had conversations about possibly selling my building. So if that structure or that program's got to get moved and, you know, just food for thought, where are we thinking about putting it? Or would that be in my new parks facility building, you know, offering the public to come into now the new parks facility building? If we are down the road, if we're split, or if we're thinking about, oh, we were going to sell the old parks building instead of tearing it down, this machine's going to have to be moved if we move forward with this. So that's just something you maybe have in the back of your heads about where this program is eventually going to end up. You know, as of now, yeah, when I move out of that old parks building, that would be probably the best site for it. But, you know, down the line, where will this end up eventually long term?
Best option is at going if
Yeah.
that works out for all of Northern Door, because I would be pretty hesitant to put us on the hook for 40,000 pounds of stretchy
Yeah.
plastic. That's a lot for just us.
Yeah, so Eric, I don't think it's really an issue until after we talk with Jeff and see what they're willing to do.
Okay.
And the 40,000 pounds, is that if we lease?
No, it's, you have to have the 40,000 regardless, it's If not, they're probably.
I have
aren't
bags and bags piling up in my.
Oh, I do
mother's
too, and then
garage
it's a
waiting
matter of
to
just
take
really
somewhere.
making sure that we communicate this well and talk with the other communities, yeah.
Like, so we have drop sites in Sister Bay and Ephraim and Liberty Grove, like, I think we could hit the 40,000.
Well, and I also think that people like my business, you know, my bags are, you know, they're huge. I'm not gonna I'm gonna take them directly
Where you need to
if
go.
going, you know, is interested in this. It's not just, you know, little few things. I think the bulk of it you're gonna get from businesses, you know, like, on deck. All their clothes come in plastic.
Yeah. Well, everything, that's how they ship it now. I mean, you get orders from Amazon or whatever.
So we'd probably get better compliance if each community had a drop-off place, right?
That's what I was thinking is if we could all work, talk to Jeff, if they can do this. Then I'd work with each community to have their own collection spot to make sure it's viable,
Mhm.
to make sure it's worth it for Jeff, because otherwise Jeff is gonna be like, why should we do this, you know?
Mhm.
So that way we would make sure it works.
Okay, so work with him and then talk to the community.
Yep.
And then we all pitch in together to pay for either the lease or buying it.
I had to talk to Jeff about that.
Okay. So this is on next month's agenda, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, now I think we move into, right, my screen just blanked out of me, there you go. I think we're going to staff reports. Parks and Streets Director's Report, any questions on Eric's report?
Yes, staff has been moving equipment to the farm, which we had talked about last month. But ran out of space and had to rent a storage unit, and I saw all kinds of things sitting outside also. How big of a storage unit did we rent and where?
Eric, do you remember the dimensions? There's some
Oh,
had to have an electric hookup. I don't remember the dimensions. It's up in, is that on Old Stage?
yeah, it's right next to Going.
Okay.
It's the old cherry plant.
Okay.
It was secure and it had electric. And there's certain things he has that needs to stay plugged in.
Okay.
They need to be on battery tenders for over the winter. And we needed, the capability to have these things, plugged in as the cold weather sets in.
Right.
And they weren't gonna fit in the barn anyways. The way the barn is configured.
Right, right, when we took the tour that one day, yeah, with the stalls or the stanchions or whatever you wanna.
Not to get us off track, but it was 40,000 pounds for these plastic bags.
Yeah.
1 million bags weighs 11,000 pounds.
1 million? Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's, I think 700 bags is a pound.
Well, each bag weighs 0.011 of a pound.
But that's a bag, like things that I get delivered in, much heavier plastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Well,
where
good.
it all is gonna come from, is all the businesses.
Okay,
Yeah, and the pig, if people get pig bags. I mean, I've got a big bag of pig bags. I save them up for Fall Fest because we use them for our apparel stuff, but still. Hey, Eric, I haven't driven by lately, or maybe I probably haven't noticed. Is the Viking ship inside the barn now?
No, the Viking ship is outside. The Viking ship will not fit.
Oh. So there's nowhere it can go inside anywhere?
No, we're using our storage that we're renting for equipment that needs to be plugged in.
I got you. So it's gotta stay outside?
Yes.
How big is it?
The Viking ship?
Yes,
I don't know. It's the village's Viking ship. I don't know, pretty big.
I know it's the village's.
Eric, do you know how tall the Viking ship is?
How tall it is,
Must be more
Or how-
than 14.
how long it is. If I was to guess, it's probably around 23 feet.
I thought we talked about it before, and it was 14 feet tall. 14 sounds like a number.
Yeah.
With
No,
the,
I don't care how tall it is. Eric, could you measure and text me tomorrow the length of it? If you want
Absolutely.
it, Louise. maybe you can get it in my dad's garage.
Okay, it's painted and sitting through the winter unless we cover it. And it's wood. You know? Just thinking it would damage it, that's all.
Or would the village never do that on private property? Put something that the village owns?
You'd have to have an agreement holding us that there's no liability there.
What if you just tarp it?
See, that's what we did in the past and then,
Okay.
but Eric did go, I think it was last year, Eric, you guys went through and repainted it?
We only repainted the wooden dragon.
It's on the mast.
Yeah.
Julie,
And up
Jeff
there.
Johnson is on now if you wanna talk to him.
Okay. Jeff?
Jeff, could you please unmute yourself?
We can, if he wants to give us an answer or something.
No, I think it should just be a private conversation. If he wants to offer something, I don't think that we should be getting into a conversation with. Maybe,
Okay, he's unmuted now. if you-
Jeff, did you have any questions or anything to offer before your meeting with Julie?
No, I was just watching the meeting and I saw a message on there about a request for me to turn on my video.
All right, well, we look forward to the result, the outcome of your meeting with Julie to see if we can make this happen.
Do you have information or documentation about the plastic baler project?
Yeah, so I had sent that to you last week, Jeff, the dimensions, the size, the contract. You should
Oh,
have-
okay. Okay, got that. I thought there was maybe something else. That's fine.
Oh, no, that was it. That's all we had.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, if we can tarp it, just in it. Cause it's cool and we love it. Try to keep it in good shape.
Eric, can you tarp it?
Yeah, we can tarp it.
Great, thanks. Anything else for Eric? No? Okay. Let's see, Julie's report. Senior programming and also parks.
Well, the Wiltie thing, I'll just say real quick was,
Why did we skip over the damage to the electrical number 9 for Marina Fest?
Well, that was in his report. I didn't know if anybody had questions in his report. So you have a question about that?
Yes. So why wouldn't we talk to whoever did the damage and work on fixing it?
It sounds like we did. Did you talk to Tim from Tim's Toys about the damage?
Ellie from SBAA was gonna reach out to Tim to
Okay.
have a discussion about how that was broken.
Right.
I emailed her, or I believe no, I have not followed up with Ellie yet on that, but I definitely can.
She's out for a
She
bit.
just had a baby.
She's out and I don't know if she sent that email before she left,
Okay,
so I can reach out to him.
okay. What building is this? Side of which building?
This is the watershed that houses our irrigation pump.
Did somebody, it's weird, looks like somebody pulled it out of the side. Huh. Okay,
Eric and I were talking about whether this is something to turn into insurance or not. So last year we had damage to a tank, and the way it works is because it's an SBA event, then we have SBA follow up with them, and then if we have to repair it or whatever, or send a bill to somebody, we know what to do. On this one, Eric wasn't quite sure how much damage there was. It might be one where it's easier just to fix it ourselves.
is the damage that the box pulled away from the side of the building?
The box was pulled away from the building and the coupler that attaches to the actual power outlet was snapped in half.
I see it.
So they yanked on it pretty good.
Okay, did you send this picture to Ellie?
Yes, so she could send it to Tim's Toys.
Okay, great. She will. She'll be back in a few weeks. And then the process would be that we let him know the damage and he pays us.
If it's something minor, we'll just take care of it, but if it's something that requires like an insurance claim or something, he's gonna have to repair it.
Okay, so he'll be back for Fall Fest, so he won't be hard to find. So, and also he's going to do.
That's a, bounce house.
Yep.
People,
They're doing the
I'm sorry,
festivals
Lily, I
forever.
didn't hear you. Was that?
they do the bounce houses.
Oh, the bounce house.
So they're in the area just north of Village Hall.
that was a windy day. I'm wondering if it happened after, there was a lot of vendors complaining about damage that they had.
Yeah,
at
their
night.
tents flew over.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe,
Well,
That
either
would
way,
happen.
still,
yeah, no,
yeah, okay. I'm sorry, now we're on to the administrator's report, senior programming and parks.
Yeah, so the big thing I just want to bring your attention was that as you read in here, on the Wiltie site, we found lead, we found arsenic. That does affect how that site gets developed in the future. That's all gonna go to the housing committee, but eventually it's gonna have to come back, you know, for final approval, but just to let you aware, we did run into those issues out there, which are gonna affect how that site gets developed.
is there any recourse in the purchase agreement? I mean, there's usually has to be a disclosure and there was no testing or,
No, the village, I was not here at the time, so I don't know
Yeah.
what that contract said, Mike, but I think it was just, you know, right purchase. I don't think there was any contingencies on.
were there state forms, real estate forms used?
Yeah, there was. I actually saw it today.
I'd have the lawyer take a look at that.
Yeah, they're required to disclose that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. If they don't, there's.
I would have the lawyer look at it.
Yeah, I can, but to be honest with you, we're not gonna go back. I don't believe we'd go back on them. What happens is at one end of it, you've got there's lead on every single test site. But the lead levels are not such that it would pose a threat. They're within the acceptable level. DNR has levels, they're within the acceptable level, so we can develop those sites. Where the arsenic is, the only issue is we can't go and disrupt that. So we either have to cap it, you know, maybe you have an asphalt parking lot there, maybe buildings on slab, or you have to bring in 2 feet of fill to put on there, or you can scrape it all out and move it elsewhere and cap that. But, it's on when you come in off of ZZ, so it's in an area where we would not have a lot of single family homes anyway. So
So it's confined to that area. Okay.
it's all when you come in off ZZ,
Uh-huh.
that bottom leg.
Yep,
That's where they are, which makes sense. You pull into a cherry orchard, you mix your chemicals, and then you go spray them on the field. So it's when you come in where they had the arsenic, and that stuff is above acceptable levels.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if we use the state real estate, there had to be a disclosure, so either we purchased it knowing that that was the case and it's on us.
We probably.
Or they
purchased
sold it. Not disclosing information that affected the valuation.
We probably purchased as is my guess. But even with that. It, like I said, it does limit what we do out there. But in the long run, it might save us some money too, you know, maybe we don't run sewer and water down that road and it ends up saving money. So we'll do a road, but maybe you don't run sewer and water. But just to let everybody know, we did run into those issues. It does impact things a little bit, but nothing we can't get over. Where the majority of the housing needs to go, again, that part has no arsenic.
okay. So this is gonna be passed on to the housing committee, who's gonna start meeting shortly, right?
Yep. They're trying to meet, I think, on the 17th, but I think we're waiting for confirmation from one more person.
Okay. The do good programs, just a recap of that.
Just letting people know so they can spread it.
And next is matter to be placed on future agenda or referred to a committee official or employee.
Any updates on the 57 trail response from DOT or the speed study from DOT?
It's funny you say that, because the speed study is on my notes for next month, so I
Okay.
heard back from them on Friday. Just real quickly, we got the results back, we cannot lower the speed limit. So,
Where do we want to lower it, 57?
south end of the village was what the board had requested the speed study for.
Okay.
And then the trail, so. Yeah, DOT's all approved. We're waiting to be assigned our local contact that we can start putting it out for RFP and all that. There's a horrendous federal manual I had to study for that. 6 hours of webinar classes on it. But what it says is the next step is you have to wait for that appointment. And then you have to go to the next step. So we're just in limbo right now, just waiting.
Those customer calls in the area, request to report at the next meeting.
I suggested to Janelle, and I actually was gonna ask you, I think maybe could we start, asking the, just with a counter, count how many people come to the admin office every day? Like,
Sure.
why? We could put a people counter in there,
I will be honest with you, Louise, I think that's just one more thing to have to sit there and worry about.
okay, then they don't have to worry about it. We could do a people counter.
Just put a
That's easy.
camera on the door.
Well, I don't know about a camera.
What's the
I think that
purpose,
would
who's
be-
paying, how
Oh,
much?
for security, that's what I,
Well, I just wondered how many people are coming, that's all.
You know, I will say different times are different, like in summer, spring,
Yeah.
short-term rental season, lots
Sure,
of
it's
people.
busy. And you
election
said
season,
Friday, I think it's
lots
the
of
busiest day of the
people.
week, right?
Friday, we started closing at noon to try and get more done.
No, I know, but I think it had been the busiest day of the week, but,
In summer, because you're getting a lot of people coming
yeah,
out.
people come up for the weekend or whatever, okay. Well, would you object to a people counter? All it is something that's sits there,
But why? I mean,
because I'm curious to see how many people come to the admin office.
like any business, you like to know how many people are in every day.
I have
you
no
can put it
idea
here.
how many people I have in my business.
I know, I guess why not? Is it,
Go ahead,
is that too invasive? Is it,
if you have one, go
Bad
put it there,
info?
leave it there a year.
okay? All right,
Talk to Eric, you know, we gotta make sure it's not a tripping hazard or anything like that, but yeah, if you guys wanna put one
No,
there,
it's a-
I don't know the purpose.
no,
of
this
it.
is something
Do
that
we
would be,
report, do we have any reporting requirements, like do people have to sign in for security purposes or anything, or can you just walk in and walk out?
No.
They just want them to go.
no, but in the
You
new
can
building,
actually
it'll all be
push the window and
secured,
just
everybody's
crawl in.
behind glass, so that nobody can get in.
Nothing locks, Mike.
It's all
Yeah.
under lock and
Well,
key.
I would, you know, you never
I'd
know.
like to make it.
It's very easy.
Okay.
All right, so, okay. Who was
Second.
that? Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, see you later. Thank
Enjoy the
you.
rest of the evening. It
Thank
looks
you.
nice out there.
Actually, I'll have one of these for the next. Okay.
I'm sure she does, well, take it just a minute.
So really, I don't, do you have a few minutes? I have a couple of follow-up things for you.
Okay, so are we doing the customer calls or no?
No, I don't think that we thought it was just too much for you guys to have to do that,
Okay.
so we can, I can put something in that's not gonna be overwhelming.
Okay.
Did we start recording?
I don't know, I didn't hear it say stop. Did you
I
stop
didn't either.
recording?
Says okay,